Chapter 1640. Even if Li Zongjio wanted to escape, it was impossible for the green-robed man to let Li Zongjio leave. Li Zongjio would not allow the green-robed man to imprison Ao Tian like this. The green-robed man saw that Li Zongjio was acting recklessly, trying to provoke the strength of a celestial realm expert. He immediately snorted coldly. He struck out with his palm across the air. "Then let me see how powerful you are." A gust of wind condensed in the sky, and a giant palm suddenly fell towards Li Zongjio. The poisonous gas condensed into a palm print in the sky. Boom! Li Zongjio's figure disappeared. However, in the green-robed man's eyes, Li Zongjio's speed had completely exposed his own strength, and he was so vulnerable. "You want to compete with me with such speed? Kneel down and beg for mercy, and I can give you a quick death." The green-robed man laughed. With just one move, he had already tested Li Zongjio's strength. He thought that Li Zongjio was hiding some kind of power, but now it seemed that it was just SOSO, and he was still at the mercy of the green-robed man. A mere innate realm expert dared to compete with him. This was a great provocation to the green-robed man, and he had to kill Li Zongjio first. Li Zongjio summoned the tiger-headed warrior without hesitation. The tiger-headed warrior landed, and with a roar, the two hammers collided. The Fallen Clan? How dare such a trashy race jump in front of me? The green-robed man growled, and directly pointed his finger, which seemed to turn into a terrifying light at this moment. This green light flew, and directly turned into a giant python, rushing towards the tiger-headed warrior. Even if it was a giant python that burst out casually, it was still a giant python of the celestial realm. The tiger-headed warrior would not be able to hold on for long, and would definitely be defeated. "Let's see what else you have." Li Zongjio fought and retreated. The green-robed man also chased after Li Zongjio without fear. At this moment, at the place where Li Zongjio had been, the unparalleled sword quietly emerged. When both of them were relatively far away, it directly dived into the water. Boom! The unparalleled sword rushed into the water prison, and directly cut open the water prison that trapped Ao Tian. Ao opened his eyes, and recognized the aura of the unparalleled sword, which was the aura of Li Zongjio. He was astonished. Grabbing it, he allowed the unparalleled sword to send him flying. Although the unparalleled sword was still unable to reveal Huo Wushuang's true form for the time being, Huo Wushuang's true form could not be revealed. But it was unparalleled sword was able to control unparalleled sword. This was also a benefit was to. Had unparalleled sword was able to could communicate with unparalleled could communicate with him. Therefore, Li Zongjio deliberately lured the green-robed ancestor away. It was not a wise thing to be entangled with a celestial realm expert. Li Zongjio had never thought of defeating a celestial realm expert. He only needed to save Ao Tian. When the water prison was broken, the green-robed man also paused. He looked back at the direction of the water prison that he had set up, and his eyes were already sure that his water prison was broken. Li Zongjio did not come alone. It seems that although your cultivation is high, your brain is not very good. Li Zongjio sneered, and did not give the green-robed man time to react. His words were completely infuriated by the latter. "You're courting death!" The green-robed man shouted angrily. At this moment, he did not intend to waste any more time with Li Zongjio. His body rose into the air, and directly grabbed the ground. Then, there seemed to be dozens of huge cracks on the ground. The cracks also directly formed a spider's arm. With a loud bang, this huge spider directly dragged Li Zongjio up. What? Li Zongjio felt the changes on the ground. This kind of summoned spider was at least 100 meters wide. With such a huge body, it was definitely a very terrifying movement for Li Zongjio. Boom! The strength of a celestial realm expert was really powerful. It could easily create such a big movement. Li Zongjio punched the spider's back. He wanted to smash the spider to the ground, but he found that there was no reaction from the spider at all when he punched it. Only some of the soil on the surface flew out a little. "Kill him!" At the green-robed man's command, this spider directly rolled on the ground, and quickly pressed Li Zongjio under its body. At the same time, its sharp spider legs fell down like raindrops. One after another, they were all aimed at Li Zongjio's head. If it were anyone else, facing such a dense rain of attacks, they would have been beaten into a hornet's nest. However, Li Zongjio had mastered a skill. He was training in the evil dragon's eye almost every day. 2 of the 9-headed snake's heads had already been smashed by Li Zongjio, and now the spider's speed could be said to be very terrifying. Therefore, Li Zongjio's reaction speed was far faster than the spider in front of him. In Li Zongjio's eyes, the spider's movement in front of him was also very slow. However, Li Zongjio had to pretend that it was very difficult for him. Otherwise, if the spider used some kind of move and increased its strength, he would have to use some kind of ultimate move. Immediately, Li Zongjio quickly dodged, and each time, he narrowly avoided the spider's attack. At the same time, he also tried to counterattack. He punched the spider's leg. However, it did not have any effect. It was as solid as a rock. It's really hard to fight. Li Zongjio glanced at it. The strength of the celestial realm was already so strong. During this period of time, he had been wanting to break through to the celestial realm as soon as possible. However, he always felt that there was a force above the celestial realm that blocked the path to the celestial realm. In order to break through this path, the power needed was beyond Li Zongjio's imagination. Some people would be completely suppressed by it for their whole life, and would never be able to rise again. They would never be able to reach the celestial realm. This was also the reason why Li Zongjio knew that the other party was in the celestial realm and still wanted to appear. It was also because he wanted to take this opportunity to experience the strength of the celestial realm. Only after understanding it could he make better preparations and more or less have an idea in his mind. Otherwise, it would be hard to imagine how strong the celestial being realm was based on one's own guesses. First, find a celestial realm to practice. This was probably Li Zongjio's idea. Only Li Zongjio dared to have such a bold idea. If it were anyone else, it would be too late to escape. How dare you trick me? The green-robed man also realized that Li Zongjio was obviously teasing him. Suddenly, a cold light flashed in his eyes. Immediately, the spider on the ground raised its body high at this moment. Chapter 1641. He had actually changed from crawling to walking upright. Stones were also falling from their bodies one after another. The green-robed man landed on the spider's body. Immediately, a terrifying aura burst out. Boom! A strong force instantly spread out. The spider shook its head, and suddenly, dozens of energy waves burst out and rushed over on the ground. Li Zongjio kept dodging, but eventually he was hit by one of the energy waves. He was sent flying hundreds of meters away. Bang! Li Zongjio fell heavily on the ground, and he was extremely shocked. After receiving this heavy blow, Li Zongjio also suffered quite a bit of damage. Immediately, his Heaven Void God record was activated quickly. He quickly recovered from his injuries. With the foundation of the chaotic body, he could rapidly recover from these wounds. Li Zongjio's strength had not reached the celestial realm. However, during this period of time, Li Zongjio could already feel that his body's recovery ability was incomparable to anyone in the Xiantian realm. He wanted to fight with his opponent and kill him. Of course, it was impossible. However, it wouldn't be easy for the other party to kill Li Zongjio. He didn't die. The green-robed man saw that Li Zongjio was still intact. He did not expect Li Zongjio to be so resilient. With a wave of his hand, the spider suddenly rushed forward. This time, with the green-robed man's personal command, Li Zongjio could not escape. Die! One hit, one kill. But Li Zongjio did not turn around to escape. He stayed where he was, facing his opponent who was rushing over, and he also had a formation in his hands. Immediately, he could feel that there was an obscure wave of energy coming from the surroundings. Seeing that Li Zongjio finally took the initiative to attack, the green-robed man's eyes flashed with surprise. After all, Li Zongjio was still able to fight back under his attack. Around his body, an extremely strange power instantly condensed. When this power attacked, the green-robed man was also shocked. Suddenly, as if he had heard something, the expression on his face instantly changed. Not good. In the next second, he felt an extremely terrifying power condensing. By the time the green-robed man reacted, it was already a little too late. Mountain Sea Mind Concentrating Mantra. Li Zongjio used the curse technique taught by the Tombstone Spirit. Instantly, a powerful pressure was released from the area within a radius of 10 miles. It seemed to have directly condensed into the power of the mountains and seas, which instantly blasted towards the green-robed man below. The power that appeared in an instant shocked the green-robed man. Even if he himself had the strength of a celestial realm being, under the power of a powerful curse, he still found it difficult to move. Boom! Earth-shattering sounds of destruction could be heard. The green-robed man was directly blasted into the ground. It was unknown how deep the ground was, but the giant spider's body had long been shattered. The green-robed man was trapped under the Mountain Sea Mind Concentrating Mantra. Li Zongjio also felt that his strength was exhausted. It seemed that in the move just now, he had also used up all his strength, but it was a different experience. When he used the Mountain Sea Mind Concentrating Mantra just now, he also clearly felt that this power directly poured into Li Zongjio's body. It seemed that this powerful move was released by the power of the mountains and seas around him. When he felt his own power condensing together, the power that erupted in an instant was really terrifying. And compared to when he used this move on the Shanggu continent, that kind of power and explosion, the feeling was also a lot stronger. Li Zongjio had long expected this. Now that he used it, Li Zongjio did indeed feel the power of the curse. Today, this guy could be considered to have been crippled. The latter was more or less crippled on the spot. But the recovery ability of the celestial realm was not simple. Li Zongjio immediately left the place at this moment. This move was also precisely because the latter was full of confidence when he used it. That was why he defeated him in one fell swoop. He used a little tactic and the sneak attack was successful. If this guy was really vigilant, it would not be easy for Li Zongjio to defeat him. Now was a good opportunity to escape. He directly headed towards the Crimson Soul City. At least in the Crimson Soul City, he would not be easily killed. Everything had its rules. It would be relatively safer. However, this exchange had already let Li Zongjio know that even if this guy was in the celestial realm, he was not invincible. There were still flaws. As long as there were flaws, it would not be a problem. He was not an invincible existence. The last time he used the Mountain Sea Mind Concentrating Mantra, Li Zongjio was almost in a weak state for a long time. However, this time around, he had only consumed a single elixir and had almost recovered. This had something to do with the cultivation of the Heavenly Void Divine Image Record. In addition, it was because of his breakthrough. Last time, he was a level 6 innate. And this time, he was a level 8 innate. There was a difference of 2 levels, and such a big difference in effect was also very obvious. Li Zongjio headed towards the Crimson Soul City. Through communication with Wushuang, he knew that at least Ao Tian and the unparalleled sword had returned to the city. It was fine as long as they were safe. Not long after, Li Zongjio also returned to the Crimson Soul City. There were not many accidents and dangers along the way. He was a level 8 innate, and in fact, in this Crimson Soul City, he was not considered weak. Experts in the celestial realm basically had their own things to do and their own pursuits. They did not walk around to do missions every day. Instead, they were busy with their own cultivation. Generally, those who did this mission were innate and Hotian level existences. However, one should not forget that there were actually many Hotian level cultivators, and they made up the majority of the population. Like Li Zongjio, there were few innate level cultivators in the beginning. Li Zongjio left. Spiritual Master 5 Poisons in a green robe also directly lifted the huge rock on his body. Just now, this move directly blasted him into the hole that was hundreds of meters deep. It was not easy for him to struggle out. His body was also sore. However, he didn't suffer any serious injuries. Most of the attacks were blocked by his green robe. Interesting, he even knows curse techniques. This curse technique seems to be the inheritance of the great Emperor Xian Tian. Looks like another person chosen by the great Emperor Xian Tian. I didn't expect that such a small probability would be met by me, huh? Spiritual Master Five Poison's eyes flashed. Anyone who was chosen by the great Emperor Xian Tian? In their eyes, he was basically the same as the fiendish demon that had emerged from the underground palace with the treasure. It was a person who carried a treasure. They believed that this person must have a lot of secrets on him. Just this curse technique of the great Emperor Xian Tian was a very powerful thing. If they could get this thing, it would be a very big harvest. It looked like the will of the great Emperor Xian Tian had not dissipated. He was indeed the great Emperor Xian Tian. After going through such a disaster, he could still persevere. It was really surprising, at least it surprised Spiritual Master Five Poisons. It was not difficult to find this guy. Spiritual Master Five Poisons' original target was Ao Tian. Since he did not kill Ao Tian, he would more or less leave something on Ao Tian's body. He would not just watch Ao Tian disappear like last time. So he had already left a mark on Ao Tian's body. Spiritual Master Five Poisons immediately recovered some strength. There were a few wandering demons that wanted to sneak attack him, but they were easily dealt with by Spiritual Master Five Poisons. Red Soul City? Let's see where you can escape to. Chapter 1642. Li Zongjio quickly returned to the Scarlet Soul City. He returned to the small house on the mountain. Hong Long was taking care of the severely injured Ao Tian. At this moment, Ao Tian was still in his true form. When Unparalleled Sword saw Li Zongjio return, it immediately appeared beside Li Zongjio and acted extremely intimate. Finally, I can wake you up. Li Zongjio grabbed Unparalleled Sword in his hand. Although the process took a lot of time, he finally had a true old friend by his side. To Li Zongjio, this was something to be happy about. How's his condition? Li Zongjio asked. Not too good. Although I don't know how to heal injuries, he seems to be severely injured. Hong Long said. Li Zongjio also went to check on Ao Tian's condition. It was indeed very bad. Not only was he severely injured, but he was also placed with an energy seal. This energy seal also prevented the latter's body from recovering. Hence, he was now in a coma. Moreover, his injuries could not heal by themselves. No, according to that guy's methods, he must have left something behind. Li Zongjio's mental strength quickly scanned Ao Tian's body. When this power surged out, Li Zongjio was able to get a clear picture of Ao Tian's condition. He really left a tracking mark. Li Zongjio directly pulled out one of Ao Tian's scales. Ao Tian released a wave of energy and fixed it on the scale. After pulling out the scale, Li Zongjio also picked up a stone from the ground. Then he stuck the scale on the stone. Using all his strength, he threw it far away. Boom! The stone disappeared into the sky in the blink of an eye. No one could see it clearly anymore. Li Zongjio had already used this method many times. There was nothing new about it at all. He directly threw the thing away. Let this fellow search according to the scale. The elemental energy lock had directly sealed Ao Tian's elemental energy. Even Li Zongjio had no way of unlocking it. At least for the time being, there was nothing he could do. Therefore, he could only rely on external help to heal the latter's injuries. Otherwise, Ao Tian would have a hard time recovering. Another option was to use soul beans. However, if one wanted to use soul beans to heal, one would need a large amount of soul beans. However, even Li Zongjio didn't have that many soul beans. Therefore, they could only stabilize the latter's injuries here for the time being. At least his life was saved. He wanted to unlock this elemental energy lock. There were two methods. The first was to kill the green-robed man. Then, the elemental energy lock that he had set up would automatically disappear. The second was to raise Li Zongjio's strength to the Skyman realm. Then, he could easily unlock the elemental energy lock. Of course, he could also find other Skyman realm experts to help. However, experts of this level wouldn't easily do it. Moreover, Li Zongjio didn't think of asking others for help for such a small matter. Most importantly, Li Zongjio didn't know any Skyman realm experts. However, if he wanted to talk about Skyman realm experts, there was one in this small mountain residence. It was the formation expert who purposely fought with Li Zongjio to test him. However, Li Zongjio didn't care about the latter at that time. Go and investigate this green-robed man. He will definitely come to Crimson Soul City. Find out his identity. Li Zongjio said. At this time, the benefits of having a gang were directly reflected. Li Zongjio could easily mobilize hundreds of people to do things for him. If the green-robed man came to Crimson Soul City, he would be able to find out at the first moment. At the same time, he could also use resources to investigate the identity of the green-robed man. Only by knowing yourself and your enemy can you win 100 battles. If there was a group of Skyman realm experts behind this guy, Li Zongjio would choose to hold back for the time being. Otherwise, it would be very troublesome for the current Li Zongjio if he stirred up a hornet's nest. Hong Long also set off directly. What will come will come. I have to make some preparations. Li Zongjio thought in his heart. He also brought a lot of top-grade primordial stones from Shunwu continent. It was just right to use these top-grade primordial stones to set up the formation. As long as there were enough ants, they could even kill an elephant. However, this also required a method. It wasn't as if you had a large number of ants and just rushed up. Moreover, it also depended on the location. It wouldn't work in the water either. The elephant would shake you off in minutes. The terrain was extremely important. Li Zongjio needed to prepare the terrain to his advantage. Now, Li Zongjio's cultivation had reached innate level 8, which was hundreds of times stronger than when he was in Shunwu continent. The current Li Zongjio could easily kill him in Shunwu continent without the slightest hesitation. The difference between before and after was also quite big. Therefore, with Li Zongjio's current cultivation to set up a formation, although he didn't dare to say that he could directly kill people, it could still serve as a buffer. It was still very good. Black Tortoise Heavenly Calamity Formation. This was the most powerful formation in Li Zongjio's hands. Immediately, Li Zongjio also began to carve the formation patterns in his small courtyard. In the past, it required 4 people to set up this formation, but now Li Zongjio alone was enough. This was the difference in strength. The huge difference made Li Zongjio extremely strong. It took a full 3 days to set up the formation. That 5 Poisons Taoist master had discovered the mark he had left behind in a mountain stream, and on the spot, he was extremely furious. He knew that the other party was definitely hiding in the Crimson Spirit City, and the most dangerous place was also the safest place. A person with a dragon, where could they hide? It must be very easy to find them. With his Yuan Qi lock, the other party couldn't transform at all. Spiritual Master 5 Poisons was still very confident about this. Spiritual Master 5 Poisons? When the figure appeared in the Red Soul City, Hong Long also received the news from the Qing gang. But at this time, Hong Long was taken away by someone. It was Commander Mi Shi's people. Hong Long's wantonly mobilization of people naturally attracted the attention of Commander Mi Shi. The 5 people of the elite team in the city witnessed all this. At the same time, they quickly contacted Li Zongjio and reported Hong Long's matter. This made Li Zongjio frown. Commander Mi Shi? Li Zongjio could guess that the other party captured Hong Long in order to find him. This Commander Mi Shi should be the backer that the Qing gang's leader mentioned before. Misfortunes never come singly. Li Zongjio also wanted to cultivate quietly, improve his strength as soon as possible, and go home earlier. But there were so many people who wanted to force him, Evil Lord, to take action. The evil dominator finally wanted to keep a low profile. Did they have to force him to take action in this great world? Then, let's properly experience the might of the evil lord. Chapter 1643. The Black Tortoise Heavenly Tribulation Formation had been completed. Although there were many enemies, but Li Zongjio was not in a hurry. He was not worried about what these people could do to him. It was only the capture of Hong Long. For Li Zongjio, this was not an urgent matter. Even if Hong Long died, Li Zongjio would still be merciful and avenge Hong Long. Moreover, Hong Long himself would not die so easily. The great formation has been completed. Li Zongjio's eyes flashed with light. The decisive battle with Spiritual Master 5 Poisons would begin at this moment. But the last time he had exchanged blows with the latter, he had used a curse technique. Presumably, this would be a truly hard battle. To kill Spiritual Master 5 Poisons? It would definitely not be an easy task. But who asked Spiritual Master 5 Poisons to block his path? Li Zongjio let people leak out the news. Of course, it was also leaked extremely vaguely. Very quickly, Spiritual Master 5 Poisons had already received the news. There was someone who had brought an injured poison dragon to this small mountain residence. The small mountain residence. After Spiritual Master 5 Poisons received the news, he immediately charged towards the small mountain residence. A tyrannical aura enveloped the small mountain residence. It just so happened that the two girls in the purple bamboo forest were not at home today. Even Spiritual Master 5 Poisons did not dare to casually make a move in the Red Spirit City. Otherwise, the city guards would be able to assassinate him at any time. Although he could escape, but it would be rather inconvenient in the future. Therefore, he still needed to slightly conceal his movements. He directly threw out several spatial mirror pearls. Instantly, it covered the entire small mountain residence. Li Zongjio abruptly raised his head. It had only been half an hour since the news was released, and the other party had already rushed over. They were really in a hurry. Boom! A tyrannical aura enveloped him. Very quickly, they discovered the location of Li Zongjio. After all, they had exchanged blows with him before. Therefore, at such a close distance, they were able to easily find Li Zongjio. Brat, it's really unfortunate that I've found you. Only death awaits you. Taoist Master 5 Poisons directly slapped downwards with his palm. Boom. The domineering palm energy instantly fell on the small courtyard where Li Zongjio was. Buzz. A powerful vibrating force spread out. It seemed to have blocked all of the opponent's attacks. Within Taoist 5 Poison's eyes was a trace of surprise. He looked up at the sky. A surge of power surged out. It directly trapped him within. A ray formation? Only children play with formations. When Spiritual Master 5 Poison saw this, he couldn't help but sneer. It seemed like Li Zongjio was just an ordinary person. However, such a person had actually been recognized by the mysterious Sky Emperor Lord. He had come to the Great Realm for the sake of imparting curse techniques. Therefore, he wanted to see what kind of treasure Li Zongjio had on him. Every moment, there would be new people coming to this macro world, but very few of them could survive. And this macro world was used as a training ground. Naturally, it had to be given to some heavenly monarch-level experts who were truly training. Similar to Li Zongjio, it was called a prize. The mysterious Sky Emperor had tens of millions of incarnations. These tens of millions of incarnations would head to the corners of countless worlds to search for people with special talents, or people with special talents. These people would have some redeeming qualities on them, and were very important to them. Taoist Master 5 Poisons very obviously did not think that his luck would be so good to find such a prize. Li Zongjio was completely unaware that he had already become the prey in the opponent's eyes. But unfortunately, in such a situation, it was not certain who would be the one to hunt who. Taoist Master 5 Poisons did not dare to be careless. After all, he had suffered at the hands of Li Zongjio. If they continued to fight, perhaps this guy would have many more problems. But when he saw that Li Zongjio wanted to rely on the formation to contend against him, he immediately laughed out loud. This Li Zongjio was underestimating him, Taoist Master 5 Poisons. He was simply not putting him in his eyes. This kind of trashy formation, I only need a finger. Taoist Master 5 Poisons directly pointed out with a finger. Boom! 5 Poisons finger. The power of this finger directly condensed the existence of thousands of terrifying poisons. When this power was displayed, Li Zongjio's Black Tortoise Heavenly Tribulation formation was immediately damaged. But at this moment, the power of the Black Tortoise also instantly erupted, rushing towards the person in front of him. Boom! A powerful force instantly covered the collision. The power of the Black Tortoise and the opponent's power of the 5 Poisons collided. Black Dragon Hammer. Li Zongjio directly activated the Black Dragon Hammer. Immediately, a terrifying power instantly spread out. His figure leapt, taking the initiative to attack Taoist Master Five Poisons. Last time, when he fought with Taoist Master Five Poisons, he already knew that in reality, this guy's strength could not be considered very strong. However, the poison technique that the latter had mastered was extremely powerful. But Li Zongjio had a kind of ability that was impenetrable by poison. At least he was able to withstand this attack. He had a certain degree of resistance against poison. Therefore, when fighting Taoist Master Five Poisons, he had a certain advantage. Li Zongjio also directly rushed up, releasing the black dragon hammer in his hand. Immediately, a terrifying power appeared, smashing towards Taoist Master Five Poisons. And Taoist Master Five Poisons himself also released a poisonous miasma. It blocked Li Zongjio outside of the poisonous miasma. But Li Zongjio's black dragon hammer also directly smashed towards it. Immediately, this terrifying power exploded out. But Taoist Master Five Poisons himself was also extremely shocked, because the black dragon hammer in Li Zongjio's hand was also extremely powerful. Every strike of the hammer seemed to directly strike the heart. Clearly, Li Zongjio's strength was extremely strong. Very quickly, Taoist Master Five Poisons also blasted Li Zongjio away. Another Five Poisons finger descended, pointing towards Li Zongjio. Li Zongjio also planned to forcibly resist this finger, using the chaotic body to resist the Five Poisons finger. Seeing Li Zongjio actually dare to use his own body to resist his Five Poisons finger, Taoist Master Five Poisons snorted disdainfully. Idiot! But when Li Zongjio received the Five Poisons finger, although his face changed, poison chi surged within his body. This surging poison instantly exploded within Li Zongjio's body. Not good! Li Zongjio let out a low roar. This was also Li Zongjio's gamble. If he could withstand this Five Poisons finger, then the Taoist Master Five Poisons in front of him would not be able to pose any threat to Li Zongjio. The chaotic chi instantly surged out, at the same time beginning to repair Li Zongjio's body. Soon, the chaotic force absorbed all of the Five Poisons from the opponent. You actually have the chaotic body. Chapter 1644. The chaotic body. Even in a large world, it was an extremely precious cultivation body. If he could obtain the power of the chaotic body, why would he need to work so hard to cultivate the Five Poison body? Immediately, Taoist Five Poisons' eyes lit up. He never thought that he would have such a great opportunity. The heavens really treated him well. I'll be taking your chaotic body, said Jianqin. Li Zongjio could not help but sneer. You want my chaotic body? Let's see if you have the strength to do so. Originally, Li Zongjio did not have a very accurate estimate of the chaotic force in his body. However, looking at it now, the thing in his body should be extremely powerful. Otherwise, the other party, a celestial being, would not stare at Li Zongjio in such a way. Moreover, this thing had already made him lose his mind. Although on the surface, he seemed to be immersed in a state of calmness, in reality, he had already sunk into a state of extreme desire. Li Zongjio poured his chaotic force into the black dragon hammer. I really don't care about your Five Poison body. Is this all you've got? Then I'm afraid you won't be able to walk out today. Li Zongjio said indifferently. A trace of coldness flashed through his eyes. You're overestimating yourself. In the next moment, a venomous snake suddenly surged out from Taoist Five Poisons' body. The snake spirit coiled towards the black tortoise formation. After all, the black tortoise formation was extremely powerful. If he did not block it carefully, he might really be hit by it. If that happened, he would completely lose the initiative. Boom! The snake spirit coiled around the black tortoise formation. At that moment, poison instantly covered Taoist Five Poisons' entire body. His entire body was filled with poison. It was as if he had turned into a poisonous person. Extremely terrifying power surged out from the surroundings. It was as if the surrounding air had been poisoned to death. Such a terrifying change occurred in the surroundings. At the same time, the range of this poisonous gas was also spreading out bit by bit. It gradually spread towards Li Zongjio's direction. At this moment, Li Zongjio was also quietly operating the formation. Curse! Mountain Sea Mind Focus Mantra. When Li Zongjio once again summoned the extremely terrifying Mountain and Sea Mind concentrating spell, the other party instantly realized it. Li Zongjio was going to play the same old trick again. But unfortunately, Taoist 5 Poisons was not an idiot. He had been fooled twice by the same trick. They saw that Taoist 5 Poisons had actually broken through the Black Tortoise Heavenly Tribulation formation. His figure quickly appeared in midair. Li Zongjio's curse technique was only able to break through a layer of the opponent's poison technique. This caused the latter's poison arts to be greatly damaged. However, unlike the last time, he didn't suffer any serious injuries. Last time, it was because of Li Zongjio's curse that he couldn't get up for a long time. For Taoist 5 Poisons, that was an extremely dangerous situation. Li Zongjio raised his head to look at the figure in midair, a hint of mockery appearing in his eyes. It was as if he was saying, "You've finally fallen into my trap." One could immediately see that Taoist 5 Poison's expression changed slightly. The surrounding energy seemed to have a strange feeling. Instantly, Taoist 5 Poisons frowned. 8 Gates Heavenly Mystery Formation, Reverse. Absorb. Li Zongjio formed hand seals with his hands, activating the formation in front of him. Taoist 5 Poisons also didn't expect that Li Zongjio would hide another huge formation under the formation. Immediately, he himself was also shocked. However, by the time he reacted, it was already too late. The power of Li Zongjio's formation within the formation was also relatively strong. It was even more terrifying than the Black Tortoise Heavenly Tribulation formation. When the formation reversed, the 8 Gates Heavenly Mystery Formation was originally a formation that provided energy for the center of the formation. In the blink of an eye, the formation became something that was used to release power. And the source of this energy was Taoist 5 Poisons. The formation seemed to have completely bound Taoist 5 Poisons, controlling the latter's body. At the same time, a terrifying suction force instantly absorbed the energy within Taoist 5 Poisons' body. It was absorbed, swallowed, and released far away. What? Taoist 5 Poisons also hurriedly operated his own cultivation technique, wanting to resist the formation. However, it was a pity that the person who set up the formation wasn't Li Zongjio, but this mysterious expert of the heaven realm. Although the technique of the formation wasn't much, the foundation was extremely solid. Li Zongjio also forcefully modified the 8 Gates Heavenly Mystery Formation, turning it into a weapon in his hands, turning it into a killing formation. Taoist 5 Poisons absolutely didn't expect that Li Zongjio would be able to mobilize such a powerful energy. It was truly unexpected. Black Dragon Hammer. Li Zongjio absolutely couldn't give his opponent any chance to breathe. Immediately, the power of primal chaos poured into the Black Dragon Hammer. His figure quickly rushed towards Taoist 5 Poisons. Taoist 5 Poisons opened his mouth, and a poisonous fog sprayed towards Li Zongjio. This was the 5 Poisons chi that he had refined himself. Relying on this mouthful of 5 Poisons chi, almost no one dared to casually approach him. However, Li Zongjio wanted to complete this sure-kill attack. Towards this 5 Poisons chi, he absolutely couldn't avoid it. Immediately, Li Zongjio's figure also directly rushed towards the 5 Poisons chi. Boom! The instant Li Zongjio rushed up, he was also covered by the poisonous fog that filled the sky. In just an instant, Li Zongjio also felt an extremely terrifying devouring force. This poisonous fog was currently continuously devouring Li Zongjio's life. Therefore, Li Zongjio had no choice but to hold his breath. It was as if he had passed through this extremely terrifying poisonous fog desert. Li Zongjio also carried the hammer in his hand. Closing his eyes, he viciously smashed the hammer onto Taoist 5 Poisons' head. Bang! Taoist 5 Poisons' head instantly buzzed. In just an instant, it was already enough to make Taoist 5 Poisons choke. In just an instant, the power of the surrounding formation had already instantly trapped the latter. At the same time, it unceasingly extracted his power. It scattered towards the sky. Boom! Li Zongjio once again swung the hammer, directly smashing the latter's body. In an instant, this half of the body was also shattered. After all, the destructive power of primal chaos was extremely terrifying. It didn't give the latter any time to think and directly shattered his body. Taoist 5 Poisons was heavily injured. However, this half of his body was smashed to pieces. However, it didn't turn into a soul being. You actually dared to injure me. Do you know who I am? Taoist 5 Poisons' half-opened mouth let out a furious roar. He had to let Li Zongjio clearly understand the enemy he was currently facing. This was to achieve the goal of deterrence. As for Li Zongjio, his eyes were filled with disdain. You're only a mere clone. You dare to be impudent in front of me. Wait till your true body comes, then talk to me. After saying this, Li Zongjio lifted the black dragon hammer in his hand, directly summoning terrifying lightning that instantly engulfed Taoist 5 Poisons' body. Chapter 1645. Spiritual Master 5 Poisons' body instantly shattered into pieces. The lightning directly engulfed Spiritual Master 5 Poisons' body. A large amount of energy quickly poured into Li Zongjio's mind-splitting ring, killing a sky-human realm expert. Li Zongjio did not expect that he would actually succeed. Looking at it now, his chaotic body was basically a true treasure. Although he had been heavily injured earlier, and the 5 poisons had basically completely corroded Li Zongjio's body, he was still able to hold on. But after activating the Heavenly Void Divine Form record, Li Zongjio's injured body was rapidly recovering. Boom! Li Zongjio stabilized his injuries. If not for my evil god body, I'm afraid I wouldn't be able to hit with this hammer. Li Zongjio sighed in his heart. Although Li Zongjio's body contained the terrifying power of chaos, but in reality, Li Zongjio's body was the evil god body, which was even stronger than the power of chaos. He still had the evil soul eye that he had not had the time to use. Li Zongjio lay on the ground, activating the Heavenly Void Divine Form record to recover his injuries. But at this moment, Aotion suddenly rushed out of the courtyard with a boom. In the black fog left behind by Spiritual Master 5 Poison, there was suddenly a wisp of smoke that wanted to take advantage of this gap to escape into the distance. Li Zongjio had not discovered that this 5 Poisons Taoist master had left behind something within the black fog. But Li Zongjio did not have the strength to continue chasing. He saw Aotion bite the black poisonous gas into his mouth. The poisonous gas turned into a pearl, which was finally bitten by Aotion and swallowed into his mouth. Boom! Aotion had expended a lot of energy to rush out. After eating the 5 poison pearl, his body landed on the ground with a boom. He forced himself to move his body. Then, they began to laugh at the 5 poison pearl. After Taoist Master 5 Poisons died, he didn't turn into a soul being. This meant that he was different from other people and should be someone from outside this great world. It was the incarnation of a heaven monarch realm expert. In this great world? He came here specifically to train and strengthen his incarnation, but he did not expect to be killed by Li Zongjio. Thus, the other party didn't turn into a soul being. After a full hour, Li Zongjio finally regained some mobility. Storage ring? What's this? I haven't seen it in a long time. When Li Zongjio saw the storage rings on the ground, he couldn't help but feel nostalgic. When Li Zongjio was in the Shengwu continent, he was very good at killing people and taking their storage rings. But in this great world, however, due to various restrictions, these people would not leave behind a storage ring after death. Only if you were willing to hand over the storage ring would you be able to obtain it. Otherwise, there was no way to obtain it. After you died, apart from your clothes, as long as it had your imprint, it would disappear completely. The soul would turn into a soul being. It would be taken by someone else. Li Zongjio didn't have time to investigate the contents of the ring before he felt a powerful energy surge out from the surroundings. It broke the mirror image space that Taoist Master 5 Poisons had released. Then, a woman in green landed in Li Zongjio's courtyard. Looking at the surrounding environment, it was obvious that this place had been attacked. This small mountain residence was her territory, right? She opened the door to do business. Since there were tenants here, she naturally had to ensure the safety of the tenants. However, it was obvious that this place had been attacked. Someone attacked you? The woman in green looked at Li Zongjio in front of her. Meanwhile, Li Zongjio's eyes were filled with vigilance as he looked at the other party. Another expert had arrived. Judging by the methods used by the woman in green, her strength was not to be underestimated. She was definitely another heaven-tier expert. I'm the owner of this small mountain residence. You can call me Lingyu. Lingyu saw Li Zongjio's eyes full of vigilance and said, indicating that the latter need not be afraid. A heaven realm enemy has been dealt with. Li Zongjio said indifferently. His strength could be considered to have recovered a bit, but if he had to fight with a heaven realm expert, he would definitely not be able to fight. Moreover, if another one came, he might not be able to withstand it. This time, it was only Taoist Master 5 Poisons who was unlucky. The poison that he was most proficient in had a weaker effect on Li Zongjio. Therefore, Li Zongjio had the opportunity to directly attack. Dealt with. The meaning was very obvious. Only after killing the other party would it be truly dealt with. You're an innate, but you can actually deal with a heaven realm expert? Lingyu was also surprised, because she knew Li Zongjio's strength. When Lingyu sensed the fluctuations in the surroundings, her eyes were also filled with shock. You actually rewrote my array formation? You reversed my 8 gates heavenly mystery formation. Lingyu was naturally surprised. This level of modification was no joke. Li Zongjio's first attack was only to fix some loopholes that he found. However, to completely reverse this formation, one must understand the existence of this power, the various formation eyes of the 8 gates heavenly mystery formation. Under the situation of not having a formation map, to be able to do this just by seeing such a formation, one must be a very powerful genius. Only then could one reverse the formation. This was a very clever method. Don't worry, I'll change your formation, Li Zongjio said. You're very talented. If you have someone to guide you, you'll improve even faster. I wonder if you're willing to join? Lingyu's heart was also moved. She wanted to invite Li Zongjio to join her sect, but Li Zongjio shook his head. Sorry, I already have a better place to go. I still have other things to do. Li Zongjio refused. According to Lingyu's temper, if it wasn't for the fact that he was so talented, she wouldn't even bother with him. Now that she was rejected, Lingyu was even more unhappy. She even felt ashamed and angry. Since he didn't agree, then forget it. The Immortal Spirit Valley didn't have to worry about people joining. Since Li Zongjio didn't know how to appreciate favors and wasted this opportunity, then it could only be considered Li Zongjio's bad luck. If that's the case, I won't disturb you anymore. This time, it's my fault for not taking care of you. I'll waive a year's worth of room fees for you. After speaking, Lingyu left. After all, Li Zongjio was her customer. Now that a customer had been ambushed in her store, the mountain residence itself had to bear the responsibility. Otherwise, their reputation wouldn't be too good if word got out. Li Zongjio was naturally happy. After a year, how many soul beans would that be? It had to be said that these people were really generous. They gave out tens of thousands of soul beans in one go. After Lingyu left, Li Zongjio opened the storage ring left behind by Taoist 5 Poisons. Chapter 1646. Someone like Taoist 5 Poisons definitely had a great background. Otherwise, he wouldn't be so arrogant as to make a move in someone else's small mountain residence. To be able to open an inn, one had to have the protection of a heaven realm expert. However, they definitely wouldn't give anyone the chance to kill their way in. After all, the purpose of opening an inn was to create a safe reputation. Li Zongjio opened the latter's storage ring. He was immediately stunned by Taoist 5 Poisons collection. A total of 200,000 soul beans. How many people did this guy kill? Or was it that things like soul beans were actually worthless in front of the incarnations of true monarchs? That was why such a large batch had suddenly appeared. This truly caused Li Zongjio to be incomparably shocked and astonished. A collection of 200,000 soul beans. In an instant, it caused Li Zongjio to be in a state of sudden wealth. Apart from that, there was also a set of secret cultivation manuals. Just by looking at its appearance, one could tell that its level wasn't low. 5 Poisons Exterminating God Sutra. Li Zongjio casually flipped through it. This sort of thing wasn't very useful to him, so he casually tossed the 5 Poisons Exterminating God Sutra to Ao Tian. Ao Tian was currently refining Taoist 5 Poisons Pearl. This 5 Poisons Pearl was the power that Taoist 5 Poisons had cultivated his entire life. Originally, if this 5 Poisons Pearl had been summoned back by its original owner, there would have been a chance to recover this power. Who knew that Ao Tian would bite down on it? This was something that Li Zongjio hadn't expected. His experience of killing a Heaven Realm expert was only this one time. Next time, he definitely wouldn't let the opponent's power escape. These were all the essence of power. Collecting them and absorbing them was also a good thing. At the very least, the absorption effects would far surpass the effects of soul beans. Li Zongjio prepared to make a trip to the transaction hall to sell this 5 Poisons Exterminating God Sutra. This item wasn't very useful in his hands. However, Li Zongjio suddenly thought of something. If he wanted to maintain a gang, he would have to add something to the gang as a reward. Only in this way would he be able to increase the enthusiasm of the gang. However, Li Zongjio couldn't figure out what he needed these people to do in order to reward them. Keep it for now. Afterwards, Li Zongjio took out several treasures from the storage ring of Taoist Master 5 Poisons. For ordinary people, this was simply the King of Hell, a truly poisonous item. He didn't even want to touch it. However, for Ao Tian, this was definitely an extremely nourishing item. 4 types of highly toxic substances. This guy's 5 Poison Extermination mantra also has it written. In addition to your little Poison Dragon's Poison Dragon Pearl, it's just enough to form this 5 poison formation? You're lucky. Since you've encountered it, I'll leave it to you. Li Zongjio very generously gave these 4 extremely precious poisons to Ao Tian. Originally, Taoist Master 5 Poisons wanted to refine these 5 types of highly toxic substances to form his 5 Poison Extermination mantra and use it to break through his cultivation realm. However, he didn't expect to be killed by Li Zongjio halfway through. Of course, Li Zongjio didn't leave any face for him. He killed him directly. Everything was taken advantage of by Ao Tian. Ao Tian was also wild with joy. With these things, he could continue to break through. In fact, this time, he had a chance to break through to the Heaven Realm. Right now, Ao Tian was doing his best to cultivate and refine the item in his hand. However, this required time. Therefore, Hong Long's side could only be delayed for a while. Li Zongjio also wanted to take this opportunity to feel the power of 100,000 soul beans. They came to the trading hall. Li Zongjio had also chosen carefully. Moreover, Li Zongjio had learned to be smarter. He directly hid his figure and bought a small tool to temporarily change his appearance. It wasn't that Li Zongjio was afraid of trouble. The main thing was that he had so many soul beans on him. He wasn't afraid of being stolen, but he was afraid of being remembered. These soul beans weren't a small number. Who knew how long it would take for Li Zongjio's gang to receive these 200,000 soul beans? Therefore, it was more practical to kill these experts and earn money quickly. High risk, high reward. This was very normal. This was the way of the world. Li Zongjio was also very clear. If you didn't have enough? If you didn't have enough strength, then you would only end up being crippled. 100,000 soul beans. This was enough to buy many high-grade items. He browsed through many level 12 pills. Some extremely powerful immortal weapons were rejected by Li Zongjio one by one. These things didn't catch his eye. They didn't suit his taste. It would be best if it could increase his intrinsic strength in one go. This thing is interesting. Li Zongjio suddenly saw a special item described on the menu. It was stored under the category of special items. He hadn't seen it before. The reason why it was special was because very few people could choose it. At the same time, it was also because very few people could use it. A bottle of chaotic aura. When Li Zongjio saw this name, he couldn't shift his gaze away. He stared at the chaotic aura in front of him. Unknowingly, even his breathing became a little hurried. This thing can be sold? Li Zongjio didn't know where this chaotic aura came from. Even just 3 streaks of chaotic aura directly created a primordial chaos spell. The powerful ability of the primordial chaos bell was still vivid in his mind. But where did the chaotic aura come from? Li Zongjio didn't know. He didn't know the situation at all. Therefore, when Li Zongjio saw that the chaotic aura could be sold, he couldn't help but admire the mysterious Heaven Emperor. He couldn't be so awesome. The chaotic aura could restrain many things. Now that Li Zongjio had discovered the usefulness of the chaotic aura, he was naturally overjoyed. He immediately looked at the price. 98,000. Li Zongjio rolled his eyes on the spot. A tier 12 pill was only worth 20 to 30,000 soul beans, but this bottle of primal chaos aura was sold for 98,000. Who could afford it? No wonder it was placed in such an inconspicuous place. Most importantly, even if one could afford the primal chaos energy, very few would buy it. If they couldn't refine it, it would be a bottle of poison after drinking it. I'll buy it. Anyway, these soul beans were all snatched from others. At the very least, there was still a guild creation token that could be sold for a lot of money. He paid 98,000 soul beans. The shop assistant took out a small, worn-out bottle from under the cabinet. There was even a seal on it. Chapter 1647. Li Zongjio put away the bottle. Then, he left the trading hall in a low-key manner. This time, no one was following him. However, Li Zongjio also saw a few people who were also being targeted by others. Obviously, these people were also novices. They were probably going to experience what Li Zongjio had experienced. There were also many new people being born every day. There were even many puppets appearing, making it impossible to tell which ones were which ones. Anyway, there were rewards all the same. They just needed to take these rewards. Li Zongjio returned to the mountain residence. The members of the Green Gang also noticed Commander Mi Shi's actions and reported back some information about Commander Mi Shi. Since they had joined the gang, they must listen to the gang leader's orders. Otherwise, they could easily get rid of them. If the gang leader dealt with them, they would be in trouble. Therefore, without any rewards, these gang members were also willing to help you and complete some tasks. At least Hong Long was not in any danger at the moment, which made Li Zongjio relax. At the same time, Li Zongjio also asked someone to pass on a message to Commander Mi Shi. They would meet 3 days later for another negotiation. This way, Hong Long would at least be able to keep his life safe and sound during these 3 days. Li Zongjio knew that Hong Long would not die so easily. But he still wanted the latter to at least be at ease. At the same time, he wanted Commander Mi Shi to be sure that at least he would not rush in recklessly and disturb Li Zongjio's plan. 3 days was enough for Aotion to complete his evolution. At the same time, it would take at most 2 or 3 days to refine the chaotic chi in his hand. Only after refining it would he have enough strength to fight with the other party. Commander Mi Shi was not like Taoist Master 5 Poisons, a lone wolf. There were many experts under Commander Mi Shi's command. If they found something wrong, these people would definitely take action, and the scene would be very dangerous. Aotion had absorbed the 4 great poisons and the essence of Spiritual Master 5 Poisons Poison Pearl. His strength had improved by leaps and bounds. At this moment, he was rapidly condensing his strength and breaking through. He was sprinting towards the limits of his realm. Li Zongjio opened the primal chaos aura that he had spent 98,000 soul beans to buy. It was in the formation in his courtyard. It was refining. In the entire Crimson Soul City, other than here, there was really no other place that was safer than this. Every place was filled with danger. However, the background of this small mountain residence seemed to be not small. This time, the owner of the small mountain residence was a little angry. Therefore, this period of time, at least, was absolutely safe. However, if I spend a few more soul beans to buy a piece of land and upgrade it into my sex encampment, I'll be able to guarantee my own safety. As Li Zongjio thought about it, he already had a plan in his heart. Within his own gang's encampment, Li Zongjio could kill people. Moreover, within this range, Li Zongjio was practically a god. It was strong enough to kill anyone at any time. Therefore, Li Zongjio liked this very much. If he was unhappy with someone, he could just trick them into coming to his house. Then he could settle it. All problems would be solved. However, It was extremely difficult for them to become a second-rank guild. It wasn't that easy. They needed a total of 600,000 soul beans. Even including the price of buying real estate, the amount was incalculable. They would need at least 700,000 to 800,000 soul beans to apply for a second-rank guild. To be able to establish a first-rank gang was already very difficult. To upgrade to a second-rank gang was even more difficult. Right now, there were only 3 second-rank gangs in the city. One could only imagine how difficult it was to do so. Could it be that these people who came and went did not want to establish a second-rank gang? Of course not. Within the city, there were tens of small first-rank gangs. However, there were only so many second-rank gangs. Li Zongjio wanted to go and see where he could choose a good location. Taoist Master 5 Poisons was simply his gift-giver, bringing him so much good fortune. In the future, when he saw Taoist Master 5 Poisons' true body, he would properly thank him. He had destroyed Taoist Master 5 Poisons' incarnation. Then, Taoist Master 5 Poisons' true body would definitely obtain Li Zongjio's identity. As for when he would take revenge on him, it was hard to say. Therefore, Li Zongjio had to be extra careful. Otherwise, if this person had a few Heaven Realm incarnations, they would directly kill him. Then he would be in trouble. After all, he did not know exactly how many incarnations the other party had. Therefore, Li Zongjio had to continuously increase his own strength. Only his own strength was the true way of the king. Everything else was also fleeting clouds. Li Zongjio, in his secret training room, opened the jar of chaotic energy in his hand. Suddenly, a terrifying chaotic energy filled the air. If the chaotic power that Li Zongjio had discovered in the primordial chaos bell was like a small stream, then what about the primordial chaos bell? Then the chaotic energy that appeared in front of him was like a vast ocean. Its strength was millions, tens of millions of times stronger than before. Such a difference in strength also made Li Zongjio feel it very strongly. It was as if it was not him absorbing this chaotic energy, but this chaotic energy was absorbing him. Oh no, I'm going to be devoured by this chaotic energy. In the next moment, Li Zongjio felt an enormous suction force coming from this chaotic energy, directly sucking him in. Instantly, Li Zongjio felt as if his soul was being absorbed by the chaotic energy. He came to a place of chaos. The things that he had cultivated before were actually blasted into pieces in an instant. It was as if the power that he had cultivated for many years was penetrated and destroyed by the chaotic energy at this moment. Everything returned to chaos. Li Zongjio could feel an endless amount of chaotic energy penetrating through his body. All kinds of power that had accumulated in his body. Omnidirectional hell technique. Mental power. Flame power. They were all directly blasted into pieces. Therefore, his own power was also destroyed in an instant. At the end of the destruction, Li Zongjio's body was only left with a trace of chaotic energy. There were still remnants on his body. It was also this chaotic energy that protected Li Zongjio. Otherwise, Li Zongjio would have been directly turned into chaos by this chaotic energy. Everything would disappear as well. It was precisely because this chaotic energy was so dangerous that it was listed in the special 5th grade. Anyone who knew how powerful this chaotic energy was would not take the initiative to come into contact with it. However, the chaotic energy itself was also quite precious. Therefore, the price was also very high. Li Zongjio's last bit of primal chaos force protected his origin source as it drifted in the boundless primal chaos chi. Chapter 1648. Suddenly, there seemed to be a ray of light in the chaos. Immediately after, the primal chaos energy woke up like a pot of boiling water. Such a force had finally appeared in the endless primal chaos. It was a hammer. A very small hammer. It was so inconspicuous that it looked very ordinary. But it was full of power. Such a terrifying force exploded in an instant. Then, the hammer seemed to absorb the surrounding chaotic energy. Gradually, the endless chaotic energy was absorbed into the hammer. Immediately, the hammer in Lin Fan's hand grew bigger and bigger. Boom! At a certain moment, Li Zongjio seemed to be awakened by the explosive force in the hammer. Immediately, There was a trace of surprise in his eyes. He opened his eyes. Li Zongjio was still sitting in the small room. There was nothing around him. He lowered his head and looked at his hands. The bottle that contained the chaotic qi in front of Li Zongjio was empty and had disappeared. Li Zongjio touched his body and found that there were no changes. Everything that had happened earlier on was just like a very, very long dream. My cultivation seems to have not changed, but my will. Li Zongjio quickly summoned his hammer of will. When he saw the hammer in his hand, although it was black, there seemed to be a force flowing on it. The appearance of this force was very obvious. Primal chaos energy. My will has fused with the primal chaos energy. The power within the chaotic qi was so strong that Li Zongjio had no way of absorbing it at all. Fortunately, his willpower was able to absorb the chaotic qi directly. Chaotic hammer of will. Li Zongjio could only call it that. Although this hammer of will was only a manifestation of his own will, Li Zongjio could still use it easily. This hammer was Li Zongjio's own will, and it was also where the power he could mobilize was located. It was extremely powerful. Even Li Zongjio did not expect such an accident to happen. After all, the cultivation of will was more difficult. In comparison, there was still a big gap. Li Zongjio was also worried. However, this time, Li Zongjio's will had completely stepped into the celestial realm. The will of the celestial realm. It was equivalent to having the mind power of the celestial realm. Li Zongjio had already broken through the most difficult stage. He did not expect to break through under such circumstances. Indeed, having soul beings was the way to go. Li Zongjio could even purchase the chaotic energy directly. After purchasing it, it raised Li Zongjio's strength to his current level. That was pretty terrifying indeed. Only with sufficient financial resources would one be able to possess formidable strength. Li Zongjio could be considered to have found a shortcut. It was no wonder that it was difficult for people to go back after coming to the Great World. Although it was not safe in the Great World, these unsafe factors were what these people really desired. Without these things, they would feel a little lonely and bored. However, Li Zongjio's will was strong enough. He would not lose himself in this world of power. In the end, he was like a gambler on the gambling table. Even if he won a lot in the end, he was unwilling to leave in the end. In the end, he would return all of it. This was a very realistic description. No one could control their own desires. At least, 99% of people could not. At this moment, Li Zongjio himself was very clear about it. He had to control the power, not let the power control him. It was not just an ordinary celestial realm. At the same time, Li Zongjio's hammer of chaotic will also had the chaotic energy, which directly became a very terrifying weapon. It was estimated that not many people could withstand this hammer. If there was, then he would give it another hammer. Li Zongjio found Aotion. At this moment, Aotion was at the final juncture of breaking through. He had already completely refined his own power. Right now, Aotion's body was entangled like a long worm. His body was also gradually releasing a terrifying poisonous gas. However, this poisonous gas would not harm the surrounding things. It was just surrounding Aotion to protect him. It could be considered as a self-defense mechanism. This thing was extremely powerful. Li Zongjio looked at the time funnel. Only a day had passed in the chaotic world. If not for the time funnel and Aotion's situation, Li Zongjio would have thought that several months or even years had passed. After all, in the chaotic world, there was nothing but this endless power of nothingness. One could not feel the passage of time at all. The poisonous gas that was surrounding Aotion seemed to have turned into a huge poisonous cocoon. Finally, a burst of power erupted from this poisonous cocoon and rushed to the sky. Li Zongjio casually set up a formation to conceal this terrifying movement. Otherwise, it might attract the attention of many people. Ling Yu, who was in the bamboo forest, also felt that there was a sudden surge of terrifying power in Li Zongjio's courtyard. It came from poisonous dragon Aotion. This guy is so arrogant and unruly, yet he's so surprising. He really makes people love and hate him. The corners of Ling Yu's mouth could not help but curl up. She was naturally very interested in people like Li Zongjio. The latter's cold arrogance was not faked. Moreover, with the latter's strength alone, he indeed had the ability to do so to such an extent. Even an expert of the celestial realm directly fell here. Perhaps there was an even bigger surprise on Li Zongjio's body. Now, the surprise had arrived. Even Li Zongjio's pet had broken through to the celestial realm. To be precise, it was Li Zongjio's mount. Even his mount could break through to the celestial realm. It must have obtained a lot of good things, which surprised Ling Yu. Many people who obtain things would want to take it to the trading hall and sell it for soul beans to use for their own cultivation. Who would be like Li Zongjio, who actually used it on his mount? Did he not know that in this world, only his own strength was the most reliable? Was he too careless, or was the latter too confident? Ling Yu was already interested in Li Zongjio. Just as Ling Yu's imagination was running wild. Poisonous dragon Aotion had already split open the poisonous cocoon. A pitch-black poisonous armor slowly crawled out of the poisonous cocoon. The power in his body had also undergone a qualitative change. Chapter 1649. Aotion felt that he had never felt so powerful before. At this moment he was extremely excited. "Thank you, Master." Aotion came before Li Zongjio and said respectfully. At this moment, Aotion really regarded Li Zongjio as his master. Before this, Aotion thought that he was forced to stay by Li Zongjio's side because of the pressure and the fact that he had nowhere to go. But who knew that Li Zongjio would fight 5 poison sage, who was in the celestial realm, for him? This could be said to be a very risky action. He did not expect Li Zongjio to be willing to do so. Now that he had killed Taoist 5 poisons and given him the 4 treasures that Taoist 5 poisons had painstakingly collected, he was able to have today's breakthrough and have his current strength. This was extremely surprising and pleasantly surprising. He never thought that Li Zongjio in front of him was so sentimental. He valued him so much. This made Aotion feel very touched. "You've broken through. Let me see how strong you are." Li Zongjio really wanted to feel the power of the hammer of primal chaos will in his hand. Furthermore, Proud Heaven's black armor looked even more majestic after his breakthrough, and looked even more baleful than before. He had the aura of a divine beast. Hence, Li Zongjio also made this request. Aotion naturally could not ask for more. Although he had fought with Li Zongjio in the Poison Dragon Mountain stronghold before, at that time, it could only be said that they were evenly matched. Both of them stopped at a certain point and did not use their strongest killer moves. It could not be counted too much. Of course, if both of them used their killer moves at the same time, in terms of strength, they were about the same. Now that he had broken through to the celestial realm, Aotion also wanted to feel how strong his strength was. The master was the master. Testing his strength was also a test. It was better than not knowing anything. The two of them hit it off. They flew directly to the outside of Red Soul City. He found a place in the wilderness. Aotion transformed into a poisonous dragon. It circled around in the sky. Li Zongjio let Aotion make the first move. Aotion opened his bloody mouth. There seemed to be a pitch-black cloud between heaven and earth that opened and closed at this moment, directly devouring Li Zongjio. Li Zongjio circulated his chaotic force under the poison and actually expelled the poison from his body. Boom! A powerful force spread out. Li Zongjio directly rushed out of the poisonous world without any injuries. Aotion saw that Li Zongjio's body seemed to be easily refining and absorbing some of the poisonous gas on his body. It was so easy that it didn't hurt Li Zongjio at all. This made Aotion very surprised. His poison was a combination of the power of 5 poisons. Even a celestial realm expert could only bow his head and admit his mistake when encountering this poisonous gas. However, Li Zongjio easily absorbed all the poisonous gas around his body. Your poison and the 5 poisons spiritual master come from the same source. Although it's very powerful, I'm basically immune to it now. Li Zongjio said. The poisonous gas that Aotion released just now had already completely rotted a barren mountain. However, he couldn't hurt Li Zongjio in the slightest. To Aotion, this outcome was indeed a little shocking. Come and take a hammer from me. Li Zongjio summoned his chaotic hammer of will. Although Li Zongjio's Yuan power had not broken through to the celestial realm, it was only at the level of innate level 9. However, his mental strength had already reached the celestial realm. This was very surprising. Immediately, a terrifying aura attacked. Aotian was also prepared to go all out to defend against Li Zongjio's next attack. Aotian roared and the scales on his body seemed to be released at this moment, turning into a protective armor and protecting Aotian's body. Li Zongjio saw that Aotian was already prepared. Immediately, he leaped up and waved the chaotic hammer in his hand 100 meters away. A surge of chaotic energy descended from the sky and appeared out of thin air. As if it had appeared out of nowhere, it blasted directly on Aotian's body. Aotian's humongous body was sent rolling for over 100 rounds. It was unknown how many stones and trees were crushed along the way. Finally, it came to a stop with a loud bang. The terrifying vibrating force was indeed too shocking. Aotian was already about to fall into a coma. The suppression and impact of this power made the scales that he had painstakingly grown look like they were about to be blown away. In the end, they were suppressed bit by bit. Fortunately, Li Zongjio didn't use all his strength when he swung the hammer just now. Otherwise, the scales on Aotian's body would have been shattered. Master, your power is too strong. Aotian was full of admiration. Li Zongjio finally smiled when he felt the power in his body. At least, he finally had the strength to establish himself in this great world. The power in his hands made Li Zongjio feel more secure. Let's go and pack up. We're about to set off. It's going to be a tough battle. Li Zongjio said. Even with his current strength, Li Zongjio felt that he might not be able to defeat Commander Mishur. However, he could at least put up a fight. There's still some time now. There's a chance to perfect the plan. Aotian transformed into his human form. Although he still didn't know what Li Zongjio was thinking, he knew that whatever Li Zongjio was thinking about was definitely not something good. Li Zongjio and Aotian also asked around. They finally found out what the Heavenly Fiend Alliance was doing. The Heavenly Fiend Alliance had recently found an ancient ferocious spirit. They were now leading a team and organizing many experts to deal with the ancient ferocious spirit. Li Zongjio had never seen an ancient ferocious spirit before. However, Aotian knew that it was a kind of soul that had been imprisoned for an unknown reason. After tens of thousands of years, it finally became an extremely ferocious spiritual body. Usually, there would be special crystals in their bodies. However, the existence of these crystals was also very valuable. Now, these ferocious spirits were usually hidden and rarely showed themselves. The people of the Heavenly Fiend Alliance had obviously found such a ferocious spirit by accident. Hence, they organized a team. This was also a daily activity of the Alliance. Otherwise, how could such a large group of people contribute so many things to the Alliance? They had to organize such activities to ensure the income of the Alliance members. Chapter 1650. The Heavenly Fiend Alliance had lost so many experts and core members this time. Li Zongjio had spent a lot of soul beans to find information about the Heavenly Fiend Alliance in the mission hall. From Aotian's point of view, such an action was very unreasonable. He was extremely confused and could not understand it at all. However, if Aotian could understand it, he would not be a dragon. He would be a human. If it were an ordinary person, they would not know how to get these things. In reality, these rules were always there. Moreover, this was the limitless true flame great world, which was more realistic. After the two of them received the news, they immediately rushed in the direction described in the information. About 300 miles away from the Scarlet Spirit City, a cave appeared. In this cave, there was actually a 30,000-year-old ancient ferocious spirit. Under such a ferocious spirit, there would usually be some treasures hidden. Other than that, killing such a ferocious spirit would give 1,000 of soul beans. One should not underestimate such a number. This was already a very good return. If one was lucky, one might even be able to obtain some good treasures. These treasures could be sold for a good price. Of course, Hunting ancient ferocious spirits was also a very dangerous thing. There was a high possibility of losing one's life if one was not careful. Sometimes, some people would even take the initiative to sacrifice their own life in exchange for a chance to attack with golden-grade ferocious spirits. This time, the Heavenly Fiend Alliance had organized a crazy attack. There were close to 20 core members. These people were almost all present. With these people's strength, they would naturally be able to solve some problems. However, this time, the information was wrong. The opponent was a 10,000-year-old ancient ferocious spirit. Moreover, it was a 50,000-year-old ancient ferocious spirit. Its strength was twice as strong as what they had heard previously. Although the 50,000-year-old ancient ferocious spirit was only 20,000 years more, even if it was only 1 year more, it was already on a different level. Alliance leader, are we still going to fight? Many people hesitated. After all, this was a 50,000-year-old ancient ferocious spirit. If the previous leaders were still around, they would definitely be able to kill this ferocious spirit if they had a fierce battle with it. But in the current situation, they were severely understaffed. Moreover, their own sects were already on the verge of collapsing. It was almost impossible to support such a huge expenditure. That was why they took such a risk and did such a thing. It was shocking and even more shocking. If they suffered another huge loss this time, the Heavenly Fiend Alliance would be in trouble. What are you panicking for? So what if it's only 50,000 years? Attack. The leader of the Heavenly Fiend Alliance was a man of steel. The Heavenly Fiend Alliance was built by him single-handedly. Although he did not know what had happened, someone had destroyed almost half of his hard work. However, it didn't matter. He still had plenty of time to rebuild the Sky Fiend Union. As long as he was in the Heavenly Fiend Alliance, it would not be a problem. He was where the true soul resided. It was because he was in the heaven realm. At that moment, he did not waste any more words with the other party. Without any hesitation, he rushed out with a huge axe in his hand. As he rushed out, he angered the ferocious spirit in the cave. It's a three-headed demon wolf. A three-headed demon wolf. That meant it had 3 heads. Among the ancient ferocious spirits, it was already an extremely ferocious existence. Hence, when they saw the 3-headed demon wolf appear, the leader of the Heavenly Fiend Alliance roared and the huge axe in his hand slammed down. The people behind him were also prepared. One by one, they rushed forward and unleashed their attacks. Their attacks were released. The attacks came in waves. It never stopped. It was such a concentrated attack that was able to kill the other party. However, this 3-headed demon wolf was not to be trifled with. It was also not at the level that they had dealt with previously. It left its cave and rushed out, sending the leader of the Heavenly Fiend Alliance flying. At the same time, it moved and rushed towards the other experts of the Heavenly Fiend Alliance. The experts of the Heavenly Fiend Alliance were not in a hurry. They quickly formed a battle formation. At the same time, they trapped the other party within it. They surrounded and attacked the terrifying ancient ferocious spirit in front of them. The 3-headed demonic wolf continued to bite and tear. Terrifying yuan power undulations were continuously released and swept towards them. Boom, boom, boom. Many of them were sent flying. The leader of the Heavenly Fiend Alliance suddenly activated his power. The axe in his hand suddenly chopped off one of the heads of the 3-headed demon wolf. Instantly, the latter's power was greatly reduced. At the same time, there were also many experts who were sent flying by the shockwave. Everyone hurry up. He's about to die. The leader of the Heavenly Fiend Alliance roared. The axe in his hand chopped down on the other head of the ancient demonic wolf. Finally, under the joint efforts of everyone, the second head was chopped off. Just when everyone thought that the ancient demonic wolf was about to die. Who knew that the 3-headed demon wolf would spit out a blue flame from its mouth? It instantly burned the 5 experts in front of it to ashes. Boom. The last head was finally chopped off by the leader of the Heavenly Fiend Alliance. However, he did not manage to chop it off successfully. The Heavenly Fiend Alliance was severely injured. With a forceful shake, the leader of the Heavenly Fiend Alliance was sent flying. The leader of the Heavenly Fiend Alliance did not expect the ancient demonic wolf to be so ferocious. If the ancient demonic wolf was still alive, he would not know how powerful it was. Fortunately, the ancient demonic wolf was now dead. This gave them a chance to take down the person in front of them. After fighting for close to 10 minutes, they finally managed to severely injure the three-headed demon wolf. The latter fell heavily on the ground. At this moment, more than half of the core members of the Heavenly Fiend Alliance were killed. No one had expected such a situation to occur. Even the leader of the Heavenly Fiend Alliance did not expect things to develop to this stage. It was hard for him to accept. However, at least he managed to kill the three-headed demon wolf. However, just as the leader of the Heavenly Fiend Alliance was about to kill the ancient demonic wolf, all of a sudden, he felt that there was a force that seemed to be approaching. Suddenly, the leader of the Heavenly Fiend Alliance became alert. Who is it? Li Zongjio and Ao Tian appeared. Those who appeared at such a critical moment were either friends or enemies. Under normal circumstances, the possibility of enemies was higher. Chapter 1651. Now, the three-headed demon wolf was on its last breath. Moreover, so many experts from the Heavenly Fiend Alliance were severely injured. Not only were they severely injured, but their formation was also damaged. The strength of their subordinates was not proportional at all. At such a crucial moment, two mysterious figures appeared. Furthermore, they were in such a remote area. Naturally, it was suspicious. If these people were just passing by, it would be too far-fetched. Alliance leader, this person is number 1 on our blacklist. Before this, Li Zongjio was also number 1 on the Heavenly Fiend Alliance's blacklist. When the subordinates saw Li Zongjio approaching, they basically saw Li Zongjio's hatred. He was an enemy. It's you. You killed my Heavenly Fiend Alliance's men and stole our treasures. The alliance leader of the Heavenly Fiend Alliance recalled that the person he hated the most in the Heavenly Fiend Alliance was Li Zongjio. It was precisely because of Li Zongjio that so many people from the Heavenly Fiend Alliance were killed. The second and third brothers were killed by him. Apart from that, the treasures in the underground palace were also stolen by Li Zongjio. This made the alliance leader of the Heavenly Fiend Alliance extremely angry. He even wanted to make up for such a huge loss. Hence, he personally took part in such a mission. All of this was because of Li Zongjio. If not for Li Zongjio, the Heavenly Fiend Alliance would have fallen to such a state. How could his Heavenly Fiend Alliance be reduced to such a state? They had even lost many of their brothers for the sake of this three-headed demon wolf, although these people were just expendable goods to him. However, when the time came for them to be of use, these people would be able to play a role. Kill. Of course, Li Zongjio did not have much to say to them. After meeting each other, it could be considered as a greeting. Those who could escape in time would escape directly. Those who couldn't escape in time and wanted to stay would have to fight a bloody battle. Ao Tian also let out a furious roar. His body transformed into a huge poisonous dragon, and he quickly rushed towards the dozen experts below. Li Zongjio lifted his hammer and charged towards the Alliance Master of the Heavenly Fiend Alliance. Boom! Immediately, this terrifying power erupted. Li Zongjio swung the Hammer of Chaos in his hand towards the Alliance Master of the Sky Fiend Alliance. The Alliance Master of the Heavenly Fiend Alliance growled. He channeled the elemental energy in his body and blasted it towards Li Zongjio. Boom! Both of their auras instantly clashed. However, Li Zongjio's primal chaos power was able to disintegrate the Sky Fiend Alliance Master's attack. What kind of power is this? The Sky Fiend Alliance Master had not expected that Li Zongjio's power would be so formidable that it would be able to destroy his attack. Furthermore, this power landed on his body in an instant. The Alliance Master of the Heavenly Fiend Alliance was sent flying. Boom! The Alliance Master of the Heavenly Fiend Alliance was sent flying dozens of meters away. He was severely injured. The latter had the strength of the Celestial Realm, but under the hands of Li Zongjio, he was directly blasted out with just such a move. The power of the Primal Chaos power was not something that could be blocked so easily. That was why the Alliance Master of the Heavenly Fiend Alliance was so shocked. He was shocked by Li Zongjio's power. The effect of the battle is so good? Li Zongjio had not expected this. He had only used less than 50% of his power in that attack, as he was afraid that he would kill the Alliance Master of the Heavenly Fiend Alliance instantly. If that was the case, Li Zongjio would have fewer arrangements to make. However, he would suffer a lot of losses. This trip was not just for the ancient ferocious spirit. There were ancient ferocious spirits everywhere. How could they be here just to snatch the prey of the Heavenly Fiend Alliance? After all, Li Zongjio did not say that he was here specifically to target the Heavenly Fiend Alliance. Aotian had already scattered the dozen or so core experts of the Heavenly Fiend Alliance. Some of them were dead, while the rest had escaped. This was because these people realized that Aotian was a heavenly realm being. Regardless of whether one was a heavenly realm human or dragon, one's power was extremely terrifying. It was not something that could be easily blocked. Hence, these people had the chance to escape. It was not worth it to die here for nothing. Moreover, the Alliance Master himself had been sent flying by someone. Hence, the situation had become quite critical. It was not a situation where one could leave just because one wanted to. Why are you targeting the Heavenly Fiend Alliance? The Alliance Master was extremely puzzled. When he saw his subordinates being chased away by Aotian, he questioned Li Zongjio. He really could not figure out how he had offended Li Zongjio. This terrifying person had never seen Li Zongjio before. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to target you." Li Zongjio waved his hand helplessly. Suddenly, he heard fighting sounds coming from behind him. He saw that Aotian had already pressed the three-headed demon wolf that was about to launch a sneak attack on him to the ground. Then, he launched a biting attack on the three-headed demon wolf. The three-headed demon wolf in front of him was easily put down on the ground. Slash! The three-headed demon wolf's body was easily bitten into pieces. Clearly, under the attack of the poison dragon Aotian, even a 50,000-year-old ancient ferocious spirit did not have much power to resist. The Alliance Master of the Heavenly Fiend Alliance saw this scene. Almost 3,000 soul beings were dropped from the three-headed demon wolf's body. At the same time, there was a small piece of black metal. Although he could not see it clearly, the Alliance Master of the Heavenly Fiend Alliance knew very clearly that a treasure had dropped. Immediately, the Alliance Master of the Heavenly Fiend Alliance's heart skipped a beat. He was extremely regretful. If he and the others had killed the ferocious spirit earlier, he would have returned to his residence by now. However, he still fell. He fell into Li Zongjio's hands. Given the other party's strength and ability to find him, he must have a very strong background. Otherwise, he would not have been able to destroy the entire Heavenly Fiend Alliance by himself. Not only was he powerful, but he also had a strong background. Moreover, his mount was of the heaven realm. No matter how one looked at it, Li Zongjio was also a very powerful person. The reason why he appeared here was because the latter wanted to deal with him. As for him, he had already become a lone wolf without any help. Impossible? He had already escaped. Tell me, what exactly do you want? Li Zongjio did not expect the person in front of him to have such a high level of awareness. They had only started fighting for a short while and he was already thinking of surrendering. He even started to talk about conditions. As long as you can spare my life, I will agree to any conditions. The Alliance Master of the Sky Fiend Alliance had seen experts and powerhouses before. In the eyes of a true expert, the lives of these people were not worth mentioning at all. They could take their lives away with a wave of their hand. They did not care about your life at all. If he did not grasp this precious chance to live, he might die in the next moment. Oh, you're pretty smart. What's the address of your gang? What's your gang's address? Is it peaceful? Li Zongjio asked. Why would he buy something that he could snatch? Chapter 1652. Li Zongjio had already understood this principle. In fact, this principle was even more useful in the great world. There wouldn't be any problems if one just attacked directly. The only problem was that one's strength was far from enough. Only a second-grade faction needs an address. Could it be that the latter was naturally very surprised. Could it be that Li Zongjio was already able to establish a second-grade faction? He couldn't tell whether Li Zongjio had a faction or not. However, establishing a faction required at least 2 guild creation tokens and 100,000 soul beans. Previously, he had obtained such an opportunity with the help of others. However, Li Zongjio, who was in front of him, also had such strength. This made him very surprised. "Give me your address," Li Zongjio said with a smile. Back then, the latter had spent a lot of money to finally find such a precious piece of land. Now, under Li Zongjio's coercion, he could only hand over the title deed in his hands. He placed it in Li Zongjio's hands. "It's actually 600 square meters. You're quite generous." When Li Zongjio saw the information on the title deed, he couldn't help but be surprised. However, he didn't expect the latter to know how to enjoy life. During this process, the Heavenly Fiend Alliance master didn't mention the person behind him. The person behind him was a subordinate of the city lord. Did he specialize in doing things? Since the other party dared to come knocking on his door, it meant that Li Zongjio had already thoroughly investigated his background. Therefore, there was no need for him to explain anything. Sometimes, he would even bring disaster to himself. Originally, he would have a way out, but he liked to ask this and that. In the end, he would lose his life for nothing. Therefore, he endured it. He didn't ask about Li Zongjio's background. He immediately sold the manor that originally belonged to the Heavenly Fiend Alliance to Li Zongjio for 1 soul bean. The two of them completed the transaction and Li Zongjio's name appeared on the title deed in their hands. With this, the matter was settled. "Well done, but you have to do one more thing for me," Li Zongjio said. The Heavenly Fiend Alliance master did not understand what Li Zongjio was trying to do. However, he had no choice but to agree to Li Zongjio's request. "Sure. You want to deal with Commander Mi, sure?" When the Alliance master of the Heavenly Fiend Alliance heard Li Zongjio's request, he was shocked. Because what Li Zongjio said just now was that he should invite Commander Mi Sure to his manor tomorrow. Of course, this manor now belonged to Li Zongjio. "After this, I'll let you off and I won't cause trouble for the Heavenly Fiend Alliance anymore," Li Zongjio said calmly. The latter understood that Li Zongjio was not very clear. However, this matter was related to Commander Mi Sure. If Li Zongjio was crippled in the end, it would be difficult for him to protect his own life. He had offended both sides. Similarly, he couldn't afford to offend both sides. However, if he didn't agree to Li Zongjio's request now, Li Zongjio would definitely kill him. He wouldn't be able to live past today. At first, he was in a difficult position, but in the end, he agreed to help Li Zongjio and invite Commander Mi Sure to this place. Li Zongjio and Ao Tian came directly to this manor, which was called Cold Moon Villa. If Li Zongjio had heard of the names of the few great commanders in the Crimson Soul City, then he would probably know what exactly this Cold Moon Villa represented. Unfortunately, Li Zongjio didn't know. The Alliance Master of the Heavenly Fiend Alliance was careful not to reveal the relationship between them to Li Zongjio, so Li Zongjio wouldn't know at the moment. In Cold Moon Villa, the experts who originally belonged to the Heavenly Fiend Alliance had basically received the news that the Alliance Master was transferring them. Moreover, this was no longer the Heavenly Fiend Alliance's encampment. It was hard for them to imagine what had happened to make their gang leader lose the gang's base. This really made them puzzled, but perhaps there were other arrangements. When Li Zongjio and Ao Tian arrived. However, when they saw the Cold Moon Villa from afar, they felt a chill run down their spines. Why do they all like to call themselves you? Li Zongjio was speechless. Just now, Li Zongjio had met at least 3 months. The Thousand Moon Sect Master should also be called Qianyu. There was also a very powerful array master called Lingyu. Now that there was a Cold Moon Villa, the previous owner was most likely called Hanyu or something. Was it because the people in this world didn't know how to name things because they didn't read much? Although Li Zongjio was just casually ridiculing. But after the Alliance Master of the Heavenly Fiend Alliance heard it, his heart skipped a beat. Everyone was called you? In the entire Crimson Spirit City, there were very few people who dared to name themselves you. The Thousand Moon Sect Master was one. But the Thousand Moon Sect master had his own background. There were people above him. Besides, there was an expert who lived in seclusion, called Fairy Lingyu. Then there was this Commander Hanyu. Other than that, the Alliance Master of the Heavenly Fiend Alliance didn't expect anyone else to be called you. Of course, it was also possible that they were just ordinary people. It was hard to say. It wasn't necessarily necessary to know someone who was very skilled. Those who were mediocre? There were many who weren't very famous. Maybe there was someone called you. Li Zongjio naturally didn't know that there were only so many people in total, and he actually bumped into them directly. Moreover, he even had some connections with them intentionally or unintentionally. If Li Zongjio knew about it, he would be very surprised. He asked the latter to write an invitation letter. Li Zongjio summoned the elite team over and asked one of them to deliver the invitation letter to Commander Mishur. The general idea was that Li Zongjio had finally found a connection with the Alliance Master of the Heavenly Fiend Alliance. He wanted to ask Commander Mishur to give him some face in the territory of the Alliance Master of the Heavenly Fiend Alliance. Everyone just had to compensate and not make a big deal out of it. As for the specifics, they would come over first and talk about it slowly. When Commander Mishur received the letter, he smiled disdainfully. "Scoundrel! I gave you 3 days to find such a piece of trash. The face of the Heavenly Fiend Alliance is nothing, but I can't afford to offend that woman. Let's see what you're up to first. I want to see who is so arrogant to provoke me." Although Commander Mishur was prepared to give face to the Heavenly Fiend Alliance, he definitely wouldn't let Li Zongjio off easily. Otherwise, his Mishur army wouldn't be able to survive in this city in the future. Li Zongjio definitely didn't know Commander Hanyu. Otherwise, Commander Hanyu would be the one looking for him, not the Alliance Master of the Heavenly Fiend Alliance. Commander Mishur had to give face just because he had some connections. It wasn't that easy to give face. Even if he gave it to him, it wouldn't be that easy to take it. If he didn't show some courage, he wouldn't know that he couldn't afford to offend those people in this city. Chapter 1653. Li Zongjio took out the Guild Creation Token in his hand. When he put the 2 Guild Creation Tokens together, a thought appeared in his mind. This thought reminded Li Zongjio whether or not he should use 100,000 soul beans to upgrade the Guild Creation Token. In addition to the soul beans obtained from the 3 demon wolves, the amount of soul beans they obtained was very high. It was just enough for 100,000 soul beans. In the end, it was all thanks to Spiritual Master 5 Poisons. If Spiritual Master 5 Poisons hadn't given Li Zongjio so many soul beans, this really put Li Zongjio in a difficult position. 100,000 soul beans were instantly consumed. At the same time, the 2 Guild Creation Tokens in his hand merged into one. Moreover, on the Guild Creation Token, its luster was also very different. It was originally the color of green iron, but now, in his hand, it was almost white. His mind was instantly immersed in the Guild Creation Token, and he moved out the things inside the Guild Creation Token. Very quickly, Li Zongjio also found the option of the guild base. His mind moved. Li Zongjio also pasted the title deed of the Cold Moon Villa in his hand onto the card, as if it was invisible. He read the contents of the title deed. Then, the entire Cold Moon Villa's various landforms appeared in Li Zongjio's mind. The Cold Moon Villa had changed hands, and at the same time, it became Li Zongjio's guild base. This instantly shocked Li Zongjio greatly. The entire Cold Moon Villa had become Li Zongjio's territory. No corner could escape Li Zongjio's control. Magical eyes. So strong. Li Zongjio could clearly feel the appearance of his own power. Then, this terrifying power appeared in Li Zongjio's hands. If Li Zongjio wanted to kill someone, he only needed a thought. After that, Li Zongjio also used the guild establishment token to spread the news of the Green Gang's encampment. Everyone in the Green Gang could feel it. Some of the Qing Gang experts who were struggling in the city were also stunned at this moment. They really didn't expect that a gang would be established in such a short time. This meant that the entire gang had already become a second-grade gang. What kind of concept was this? This meant that the Qing Gang had become one of the top 4 gangs in the entire Crimson Spirit City. This was too exaggerated. The members of the Qin gang couldn't believe it either, mainly because they had never seen the gang leader before. They didn't even know who the real gang leader was, even though they could follow Li Zongjio's orders. However, he didn't know Li Zongjio's identity. This was because Li Zongjio had not been publicly announced in the gang. However, Hong Long, the deputy gang leader, was more well known. However, they heard that the deputy gang leader had been captured. They only knew about this roughly. There were benefits in the gang, but not many people knew about the specific situation. Li Zongjio arranged for the members of the Qin gang to stay in the encampment. The Cold Moon Villa directly became Li Zongjio's territory. This was really shocking. The leader of the Heavenly Fiend Alliance was not released. Li Zongjio originally wanted to use the head of the leader of the Heavenly Fiend Alliance to test the power in his hands. He wanted to see if this kind of power that could casually kill people was suitable for him. However, it seemed that there was no need to do so now. Li Zongjio could also clearly feel the presence of a powerful force. This was a kind of power given by the rules of the entire world. Therefore, Li Zongjio could use this kind of power. He didn't let the leader of the Heavenly Fiend Alliance out because he was worried that this guy would run out and leak information. What if he scared Commander Mi Shi away? Hong Long would really be finished. Now that he wanted to barge in and drag Hong Long out, it wouldn't be so easy. It wasn't a waste for him to be able to stay in the Red Soul City for so many years. At the same time, he had become a commander and had so many people under him. The next day. Originally, Li Zongjio was still worried that the other party wouldn't dare to come. However, Li Zongjio soon realized that he was wrong. What kind of status did the other party have? Even if he knew that this was the territory of the Heavenly Fiend Alliance, he would definitely dare to come. This was because the Heavenly Fiend Alliance couldn't bear the consequences of killing Commander Mi Shi. It was mainly because of Commander Han Yu's face. Unless Commander Han Yu wanted to deal with Mi Shi and deliberately did this. However, in Commander Mi Shi's eyes, Commander Han Yu wasn't such a person. Therefore, the next day, Commander Mi Shi directly walked over with 8 personal guards escorting Hong Long. After Commander Mi Shi knew Hong Long's real identity, he already knew that it would be useless to kill Hong Long directly. However, Commander Mi Shi guessed that the other party didn't know Hong Long's real identity. Therefore, Hong Long was more or less useful now. Commander Mi Shi and the others swaggered in. Cold Moon Villa. When he walked in, he could clearly feel a chill coming over him. Commander Mi Shi frowned. There were only 2 people waiting for him in the hall. And he didn't know either of them. He didn't see the leader of the Heavenly Fiend Alliance. However, the person beside Commander Mi Shi recognized Li Zongjio. Commander, this is the person who snatched my gang establishment token. This person was the former leader of the Qin gang. This was a very painful experience for the latter. As a leader, he was directly threatened to hand over the gang and the gang establishment token. In the end, he ended up like this. If others knew about this, he would be ridiculed for thousands of years. However, now that Commander Mi Shi was here to support him, he wasn't afraid of anything. At the same time, he looked at Li Zongjio with a cold light flashing in his eyes, as if to tell Li Zongjio that he was dead meat. You must be Commander Mi Shi. Li Zongjio smiled slightly when he saw Commander Mi Shi, who walked in with an extremely imposing aura. It was good that he was here. Who are you? Tell me your name. Where is the leader of the Heavenly Fiend Alliance? Ask that guy to come out. Commander Mi Shi sat down and said, He can't come. Li Zongjio said indifferently. Then, a terrifying will suddenly burst out from his eyes. Along with the eruption of this power, Commander Mi Shi and the others trembled in their hearts. The 8 guards beside Commander Mi Shi and the former leader of the Qin gang were instantly turned into ashes with a bang. Bang, bang, bang. There wasn't the slightest bit of sloppiness in this slaughter. At the same time, a tyrannical and unparalleled force instantly shattered the armor on Commander Mi Shi's body. He was seriously injured. Chapter 1654. Li Zongjio's speed was as fast as lightning. He directly killed the group of people in front of him. At the same time, Commander Mishur was also seriously injured. His entire body was blasted away. When Hong Long saw this scene, he couldn't help but laugh. As the deputy leader of the Qin gang, he naturally knew about the gang's encampment. But Hong Long didn't know that Li Zongjio would attack so decisively. He directly killed the man. Hong Long was quite shocked. Only Li Zongjio could do such a thing. These people in front of him had no chance at all. When Li Zongjio made a move, he would not hesitate at all. Hong Long originally thought that Li Zongjio would hesitate a little at this time. At least, he wanted to negotiate with Commander Mishur first. He had scruples. Commander Mishur had a large number of experts behind him. The Mishur army under his command had a total of 500 people. Although he only brought 8 people this time, there were hundreds of experts who hadn't taken action yet. If they knew that Commander Mishur was killed by Li Zongjio, these people would definitely not let it go. Once they launched a large-scale attack, they wouldn't dare to enter Cold Moon Villa. But outside Cold Moon Villa, they would definitely wait day and night. After forcing you out, they would directly kill you. There would always be a way to guard you. It was impossible for them to stay in Cold Moon Villa every day. In addition, they would definitely find out all the members of Qin Gang and kill them one by one. It was indeed too risky. How dare you kill me? Commander Mishur was seriously injured, but he could still speak. At this moment he spat out a mouthful of blood. He looked at Li Zongjio in front of him. His eyes were full of disbelief. Why not? Li Zongjio said indifferently. The next moment, Commander Mishur also jumped up, trying to escape from the Cold Moon Villa. However, how could Li Zongjio let him go so easily? If he let him go, all his previous efforts would be wasted. Boom! A surge of power directly obliterated Commander Mishur. It was blasted into pieces. Li Zongjio didn't need to get anything from Commander Mishur. He could just kill him directly. Since Li Zongjio was forced to kill people in this macro world, Li Zongjio could only comply with the rules here and be a good killer. Who was more ruthless? Li Zongjio had never been afraid of anyone. Commander Mishur directly turned into 21 soul beings. Li Zongjio reached out with a wave of his hand and caught all of them. An overbearing commander with 500 men under him. In an instant, they transformed into 21 soul beings. In Hong Long and Ao Tian's eyes, it was very unbelievable. Most of the people in the Qin gang saw this scene as well. Spread the news that the Alliance Master of the Heavenly Fiend Alliance killed Commander Mishur. Li Zongjio said to his subordinates. Li Zongjio didn't know them, and they didn't seem to know Li Zongjio either. However, after seeing Li Zongjio's methods, they knew that their Alliance Master would definitely be a very powerful person in the future. He was decisive and ruthless. Commander Mishur, who no one dared to touch, turned into a soul being in his hands. He was really powerful. As for the Alliance Master of the Heavenly Fiend Alliance, Li Zongjio directly locked him up. First, he messed up the situation. Who knew what would happen here? It was hard for the outside world to know what was going on. Moreover, as long as someone came to make trouble, ordinary people wouldn't be able to figure out the current situation. The situation would become more and more murky. It would be harder than ascending to heaven to find a connection. In the end, even the people who were killing each other didn't know why. Hong Long naturally admired Li Zongjio's methods. Thank you, Alliance Master, for saving my life. Hong Long said to Li Zongjio emotionally. If it wasn't for Li Zongjio, he would have died. After all, not everyone was willing to take such a big risk. They were just strangers who met by chance. Most of the time, Hong Long was just a guide who appeared beside Li Zongjio. In fact, he didn't play much of a role. Li Zongjio sacrificed him, so he was sacrificed. There was nothing he could do. However, Li Zongjio didn't do that. Instead, he went through so much trouble and took such a big risk to kill Commander Mishur. Moreover, looking at the situation, it seemed that even the Heavenly Fiend Alliance had been killed. Li Zongjio took care of it. It was really unexpected. Who could have imagined it? Back then, it was just a simple task. The person he met actually brought about such a big change in his life. It was really unbelievable. Cut the crap. Hurry up and do what you need to do. Li Zongjio said. He didn't waste any time with small talk. He had to settle this matter well. There were still many things to do. Yes, Alliance Master, Hong Long said excitedly. But Alliance Master, where is this place? Hong Long only knew that the Qing gang had a gang base, but he didn't know where it was. I think it's called Cold Moon Villa. Li Zongjio said. What? Cold Moon Villa? Hong Long's expression changed tremendously. The Alliance Master of the Heavenly Fiend Alliance and the Governor of the Red Soul City had a relationship. However, no one knew what kind of relationship it was. There were even many guesses about the location of the Heavenly Fiend Alliance's base. However, Hong Long didn't expect that the Heavenly Fiend Alliance's base was the famous Cold Moon Villa. Not only that, the entire Cold Moon Villa was snatched away by Li Zongjio. This was really too exaggerated. Hong Long couldn't react to it. This kind of strength was really too powerful. However, this directly offended Commander Cold Moon. What's wrong? Is there a problem? Li Zongjio said. If there was a problem, just solve it directly. What else could there be? It was no big deal. Yes, and it's a big problem. The latter sucked in a breath of cold air. This Cold Moon Villa is the place of Commander Cold Moon, the subordinate of the Red Soul City Governor. This means that the person behind the Heavenly Fiend Alliance is actually Commander Cold Moon. Commander Cold Moon? She's really called Cold Moon. So what? Li Zongjio didn't care. How could a name scare people like this? Commander Cold Moon is the daughter of the governor. Chapter 1655. The daughter of the city master. There was only one city master in Red Soul City, and that was Red Soul himself. The latter represented the entire Red Soul City. It could even be said straightforwardly. The latter was the most powerful existence in the entire Red Soul City. Li Zongjio did not expect such a thing to happen. It was a little awkward. After all, Li Zongjio did not intend to be enemies with Han Yu. So what if she's the daughter of the city master? Can she go to heaven? Li Zongjio was just a little surprised. Other than that, he did not feel anything else. So what if she's the daughter of the city master? If that's the case, why don't you go to heaven? Humans would die. If you wanted to provoke Li Zongjio, even if you were the city master of Red Soul City himself, he would have to find a chance to kill you. Hong Long looked at Li Zongjio in disbelief. He could not believe that he could be so calm. He was indeed the calmest person Hong Long had ever seen. This time, Hong Long was completely convinced. Outside, the death of Commander Mi sure shook the entire Crimson Soul City. After all, to be able to become a commander, one had to have his own abilities. Moreover, Commander Mi sure was a very famous expert in the city. Yet he was killed just like that. Things were indeed a little unexpected. Everyone was shocked. Then there was a piece of news. It turned out that the Alliance Master of Heavenly Fiend Alliance had used the power of his own faction to kill Commander Mi Sure in the territory of Cold Moon Villa. Hence, Commander Mi Sure's subordinates were frantically searching for the people of Heavenly Fiend Alliance. Once they found them, if they could not bring them to the Alliance Master of Heavenly Fiend Alliance, they would kill them directly. Heavenly Fiend Alliance had already suffered a lot of damage. Now that they had been messed up, it was even more impossible for them to recover. In an instant, the Heavenly Fiend Alliance, who had been in the limelight, fell to the bottom. The other two Grade 2 sects were caught off guard. Thousand Moon Sect. The Thousand Moon Sect Master was at a loss of what to do with the current situation. Suddenly, something like this happened. This made the Thousand Moon Sect Master very surprised and shocked. She really could not understand why the Heavenly Fiend Alliance Master would do such a foolish thing. In the beginning, this matter was quite heated. However, the Thousand Moon Sect Master soon found the crux of the matter. He was not blinded by the fanatical and chaotic scene in front of him. Instead, he was very clear about the current situation. Who is the current leader of the Qin gang? The Thousand Moon Sect's hierarch was sharp enough to notice that there was something unusual about the new leader of the Qin gang. I don't know. The Qin gang has never announced anything like that. Nobody knew what kind of person the leader of the Qin gang was. All he knew was that the latter was powerful and had a mysterious identity. Their backgrounds were also extremely mysterious. Although the leader of the Qin gang was unable to find out the details, the owner of the Cold Moon Villa was able to easily find out. He only needed to spend some money to find out who the current owner of the Cold Moon Villa was. Soon, the Thousand Moon Sect Master found a name. Li Zongjio. The Thousand Moon Sect Master was naturally unfamiliar with this name. He had never heard of this name before. After that, the Thousand Moon Sect Master also searched around the city. She checked the various inns in the city to see if there was anyone similar to Li Zongjio's name before. Soon, in the mountain residence, the information about Li Zongjio finally surfaced. When the Thousand Moon Sect Master saw the portrait of Li Zongjio in his hand, he was stunned. He was completely stunned. "It's him!" The Thousand Moon Sect Master exclaimed. It was this person who had caused a commotion in the city recently. However, this person was also the person who had saved her life in the hands of the Heavenly Fiend Alliance. However, even if she knew that the current owner of the Cold Moon Villa was Li Zongjio, it did not mean that Li Zongjio had killed Commander Mishir. It was hard to figure out what exactly had happened. In addition, during this period of time, the Mishir army and the Heavenly Fiend Alliance had been fighting each other, which had caused a lot of commotion. Gradually, the two sides had a blood feud. They had lost Commander Mishir. Something had also happened within the Mishir army. These people were also constantly dividing their strength. They had their own camps. No one dared to find trouble with Li Zongjio anymore. The Thousand Moon Sect Master did not disclose the clues she had found. At least, Li Zongjio was her savior. At this time, it was not good to hit him when he was down. Moreover, Li Zongjio was able to play the Mishir army and the Heavenly Fiend Alliance in the palm of his hand. One could imagine how powerful he was. She, the Thousand Moon Sect Master, did not want to have such a powerful opponent. Therefore, she temporarily kept Li Zongjio's information to herself. She kept all this information a secret. However, how is Li Zongjio going to deal with Commander Hanyue? Li Zongjio had snatched the Cold Moon Villa. Naturally, he would offend someone. Commander Hanyue. Commander Hanyue seemed to still be in seclusion. Therefore, she would not come out to find trouble with Li Zongjio for the time being. However, when Commander Hanyue came out of seclusion, Li Zongjio's situation would obviously become very dangerous. What the Thousand Moon Sect Master did not expect was that Li Zongjio would use an unexpected method to get rid of the Cold Moon Villa. Li Zongjio directly listed the Cold Moon Villa for sale. The selling price: 20,000 soul beans. Only 20,000 soul beans. The Cold Moon Villa, even with these two names, was worth more than this amount of money. 20,000 soul beans in the eyes of ordinary people was naturally a huge number. However, in the eyes of those with real power and status, it was not a problem at all. The original value of the Cold Moon Villa should have been around 100,000 soul beans. To be able to sell for such a price, it was because the location of the Cold Moon Villa was very good. Li Zongjio did not want to meet the Scarlet Soul City Master so soon. If that happened, he would definitely lose. He might even be remembered. Now, if he could avoid it, he would do so. After all, Li Zongjio was not a fool. He knew that he was not a match for the Scarlet Soul City Master, but he still wanted to fight with him. That would be too stupid. Too stupid. Although Li Zongjio had his own pride, he also knew how to avoid the sharp edge. 20,000 soul beans in this market was a price that could be used to pick up a bargain. It was only put up for half a day before it was bought by someone. Before this, Li Zongjio naturally removed the binding of this sect's encampment. After the other party bought it, they immediately sold it for a higher price. After changing hands a few times, it was extremely difficult for the other party to find Li Zongjio again. Hong Long could not help but admire Li Zongjio's decisiveness. He did not feel that it was a pity at all. After all, these things were stolen. As long as one was not too greedy, there would always be a return on anything. More often than not, you would suffer a double loss because you were too greedy. Chapter 1656. Li Zongjio still lived in the small mountain house. Under the large formation of the small mountain house, He could also ensure his own cultivation, making steady progress, so that he could break through to the celestial realm as soon as possible. In the city, Commander Mi Shi's former territory had also changed dynasties, and the Mi Shi army under him had also been disbanded, and the remaining part had been incorporated by the new commander. As for Commander Mi Shi, he only lived in the records, which were also very realistic, very real, and this rhythm was obviously faster than the outside world. At the current pace, in less than 7 days, all the prestige of Commander Mi Shi had disappeared. In the past, he could still use the latter's name to intimidate people. But now it was no longer possible. Everyone knew that Commander Mi Shi was just a dead man. Only the living were eternal, and the rest were not taken seriously at all. After death, they were basically ashes to ashes and dust to dust. Things were so simple and clear. Hong Long was also trying his best to recruit gang members. Ao Tian also joined the Qin gang. Was it also the face of a celestial realm expert? It was all here. Li Zongjio finished dealing with these 2 big crises and was about to rest for a while. Suddenly, he saw that the sky above the Red Soul City had turned blood red. This blood curtain could be seen in the sky. When everyone saw this scene, they were also very surprised. Some of the newcomers had never seen such a scene. But some of the old people who had experienced it also burst out with incredible light at this moment. They did not expect such a thing to happen again. What's going on? Li Zongjio also obviously knew that there must be something wrong. Otherwise, there would not be such a change. Hong Long also widened his eyes. He had been in this big world for so many years, but it was really the first time he saw such a situation, but he was very clear about the cause of such things. Demon siege, this is a demon siege. Demon siege? Li Zongjio was surprised to hear such a thing. Back then, when Li Zongjio had set up some trials for the students of Sky Sect Academy on Golden Island, he had also used a similar superpower. But in this big world, to create such an earth-shattering siege, Li Zongjio was very surprised. How bored was the mysterious Sky Emperor? Why did he have to do something in this peaceful time? It seemed that he was going to make a lot of noise. Otherwise, he would not let this matter rest. Why did he have to make such a big fuss? It was for such an effect. What's the rule? Li Zongjio saw that in the sky above the Scarlet Soul capital, outside of the red light screen, there were already some pitch-black raindrop-like objects that were rapidly falling down. Boom! 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 One could see these raindrop-like things falling, but when they landed on the ground with a loud bang, they directly exploded with an extremely terrifying aura. Some of these things directly fell on the red defensive shield and instantly turned into ashes. But Hong Long said, "The only rule is to live. The defensive shield of the Red Soul City can only last for 3 minutes. After 3 minutes, these demons will also rush into the city." Hong Long said, "They have no emotions, they only know how to kill. It's already a blessing to be able to survive. If we can withstand this siege, then we have a chance to become the commander of the Crimson Soul City. If we can't withstand the attack of the demons, then the Crimson Spirit City will completely disappear and be wiped out." Li Zongjio's eyes flashed with a trace of surprise. He did not expect this siege to be so tragic. It was impossible to escape. Outside the Red Soul City, within a radius of 100 miles, there were countless demons descending from the sky. No matter how fast you are, as long as you don't teleport, you will be surrounded by these demons. The only way to survive was to stay in the city and persevere. These demons all descended from the sky. When Li Zongjio first arrived, he was also curious as to why this main city did not have a wall. Now, it seemed that the wall was useless. The demons directly fell from the sky. What was the use of the wall? Moreover, this kind of ordinary wall, how could it withstand the attack of a Xiantian realm expert, or even a celestial realm expert? It was completely impossible. Only your own strength could withstand it. At the same time, in this siege, the special effect of your gang's encampment would also be directly ineffective. The only way to survive was to bring all your brothers and have a real life and death battle. Boom, boom, boom. At this moment, the red light screen in the sky seemed to have a huge ripple. Many people had already started to pray praying that they could escape this disaster. And they quickly formed a team with the people around them, at least those who they trusted. This was something only experienced people would do. Those inexperienced newbies were basically just sending themselves to death. The demons in the distance were already rushing towards the Crimson Soul City. Li Zongjio took out the unparalleled sword. Then let's kill. Since there is no way out, there is no other way. Li Zongjio said. There was no problem in protecting themselves. As for how to protect the city, it was up to the city lord and the others. In the face of such an attack, the Red Soul City Lord must have a set of strategies. The city guards in the city also quickly gathered. And they all gathered in one direction. In this direction, which was the city lord's statue in the city gate square. Under the statue of the city lord, one would also receive a boost in strength. At the same time, the city lord's statue itself was also a very powerful dermic artifact. Under the statue, if everyone gathered, it would naturally become a very strong force to resist. Let's go to the city gate square too? Honglong asked. No, it's here. Call all the people of the Qing gang here. Li Zongjio said. If after such a demon siege and all the people in his gang died, it would be too tragic. So it was good to be able to save one. After all, they had joined his Qing gang. As the leader, he naturally had to show some respect. Otherwise, no one would be willing to join this gang in the future. 3 minutes passed quickly. In the small mountain house, many experts came. Li Zongjio gathered many of the Qing gang's experts. Boom! The red light faded. The entire Crimson Soul City also erupted with a terrifying commotion at this moment. Chapter 1657. The demons that fell from the sky like meteors did not stop. They landed in every corner of the city. Li Zongjio did not expect that something like this would happen to him. It was a rare event that happened once in a few hundred years, but it happened to him. This matter was going to be messed up. He could only fight with one of them. Li Zongjio did not mind. It was a good opportunity for him to experience it. Anyway, the most troublesome thing was the Crimson Soul City Master and some other commanders. These people were the real main force for these matters. It was no wonder that they were not usually seen. These people were also doing their best to prepare for these matters. Without further ado, the first fiendish demon quickly entered everyone's line of sight. Li Zongjio immediately released the array. Suddenly, a terrifying wave of energy spread out. Kill this demon in an instant. Black Tortoise Heavenly Calamity Array. Li Zongjio was also in charge of controlling the array. These fiendish demons also dropped soul beans. At least there was something to be gained. At least it wasn't as if there was nothing left. Of course, when they were devoured by this demon, there was nothing left. These 10 or so Green Gang members, if not for the protection of Li Zongjio and the others, would have died. With the opponent's strength, it was difficult to resist. Demons could be said to be everywhere. They fell from the sky and were very dangerous. Aotion also did not transform into his true form. This was just the beginning. Naturally, he had to be steady. If there was too much of a commotion, it would definitely attract more attention. Once the enemy's attention was attracted, it would be quite dangerous. He did not dare to cause too much of a commotion. Boom! Boom! The entire Crimson Soul City was filled with continuous explosions. The earth quaked and the mountains shook. Some of the buildings collapsed as well. From afar, one could see the terrifying smoke rising in the air. Li Zongjio was also controlling the array in his hand. At the same time, he also activated the 8 Gates Heavenly Mystery Array of the mountain residents to replenish the elemental energy of everyone. There were a total of 7 independent courtyards in the mountain residence. When the people in the other 4 courtyards saw that Li Zongjio's side actually had an array master, they immediately became excited. Quick, let me in. These people were not weak either. Find somewhere else. Li Zongjio rejected these people from entering his array formation. After all, in times of crisis, human nature would be revealed without a doubt. Once it was a matter of life and death, these people would definitely do anything. One should never underestimate human nature. Sometimes, these people had no humanity to speak of. Therefore, Li Zongjio himself was very clear about this. At such a critical juncture, of course we have to help each other. Only then will we have a chance to escape. You have to think clearly. The other party seemed to have formed a small group of their own. There were a total of 6 people. They were all Xiantian experts. To be able to afford to live in a place like the mountain residence, most of them could be considered to have some strength. You can come in, but everyone has to pay 10,000 soul beans, Li Zongjio said. Then he activated the Xuanwu and slapped a demon to death. 10,000 soul beans. You're looting a burning house. You'll definitely die a horrible death. When the other party heard Li Zongjio's words, they were about to explode in anger. What kind of situation was this? They still didn't know how to unite and help each other. Moreover, such a lousy formation required 10,000 soul beans. They were simply crazy about money. On the spot, a man and a woman turned and left. From the looks of it, the two of them were probably lovers. After hearing this, they didn't have any hope. It was better to quickly find a hidden place to hide. Li Zongjio naturally didn't feel the slightest bit of guilt. Unity and help might exist in other places, but in the great world, it didn't exist. If they were united, why didn't they help the weaker ones? Instead, they wanted to squeeze into Li Zongjio's formation. How could this be called unity and help? They were clearly trying to take advantage of Li Zongjio. To be able to offer 10,000 soul beans and give them a chance was already an exceptional favor. Therefore, there was no need to think about it. These people definitely wouldn't come in. Among the 6, there was a fatty who was willing to pay to come in and hide. Li Zongjio was also surprised. It seemed that this fatty's thinking wasn't bad. At the very least, he had a good eye for things. Consider yourself lucky. Li Zongjio took the fatty's 10,000 soul beans and let him fly in. The fatty also thanked Li Zongjio profusely. The remaining 5 people immediately left. Furthermore, within their eyes, there was a trace of hatred. If anything happened to them, they would definitely blame Li Zongjio. Li Zongjio completely ignored them. He didn't have the ability, yet he blamed others for not saving him? The fiendish demons kept rushing over. At first, it was just a few small demons. Li Zongjio and the others had an easy time dealing with them. But gradually, the strength of these demons became stronger and stronger. Furthermore, the more people died in the city, the more people died. The chances of these fiendish demons gathering together would be higher. It was originally 100 against 100, but it quickly became 100 against 10, 100 against 1. After all, the number of demons was endless. Li Zongjio kept maintaining and repairing the formation. Immediately, he saw what seemed to be 5 Xiantian realm demons in front of him. And they were all at Khanate level 6 or 7. Taotan, go kill them. Aotion nodded. He immediately rushed towards the 5 Khanate demons. However, just as Aotion rushed out, the 5 people who had just left appeared once again. They immediately surrounded Aotion. These people are pretty good at enduring. Li Zongjio saw that these people who were hiding chose to surround Aotion. Obviously, they were unhappy and wanted to take revenge on Li Zongjio. This was going to be fun. Do as you see fit. Aotion didn't expect that there would be people who would take the initiative to die. Since you don't want us to live, don't think about living either. The 5 of them said sternly. Looking at Aotion, they didn't have the slightest bit of pity. They joined forces and charged towards Aotion. Boom! Aotion's aura of a heaven being exploded instantly. In front of these 5 people, he revealed his true form. Instantly, the 5 people's eyes were filled with shock and astonishment. Heaven. Heaven being realm. The 5 of them were dumbfounded. How did they meet a heaven being realm expert? They were totally caught off guard. Immediately, the 5 of them wanted to turn around and escape. But Aotion had already swung his tail and severely injured the 5 of them. Chapter 1658. The 5 of them did not even dream of it. Aotion was a heavenly dragon realm meta beast. If they had known that Aotion was a heavenly dragon realm meta beast, they would not have dared to act rashly. As for being rejected by Li Zongjio, so be it. How could they lose their lives for nothing at this moment? After that, Ao Tian did not hesitate at all. In the blink of an eye, he rushed out and killed all 5 of them. The 5 of them turned into soul beings and were completely destroyed. At this moment, the fat man in the formation was sweating profusely. He did not expect these people to be so secretive. Luckily, he did not have the time to act. Originally, he wanted to cooperate with these people from the inside. It would be best if he could snatch the array formation. However, he did not expect Li Zongjio and the rest to be so powerful. Naturally, he did not dare to act rashly. He did not know if there were any top experts in this courtyard. Seeing the 5 of them die tragically, the fat man became well-behaved. At least he could survive now. He had to save his own life first. Since these people were all dead, there was no hope left. The fat man could only stay in the formation obediently. Li Zongjio glanced at the fat man. The fat man laughed awkwardly. These people deserved it. Blind as a bat. The fat man cursed fiercely. It was all because of these people. Not only did they die, they almost killed him. Luckily, he was lucky. The speed of Ao Tian's attack was also very fast. He didn't give Fatty any chance to retaliate. Otherwise, Fatty would probably be lying on the ground by now. After Ao Tian killed the few powerful demons, he returned to the formation. With the 8 gates heavenly mystery formation. Needless to say, it had great recovery abilities. No matter how much energy was used, it could recover in a short time. It was the best place to fight. Many of them were not killed by the fiendish demons. It was because in the end, their strength was almost depleted. Before they could recover, they were killed by the enemy. If their strength could not recover, there was nothing they could do. They would be killed by exhaustion. After all, there were too many of them. It could be said that they were endless. Boom. At this rate I can hold on? Li Zongjio thought to himself. As long as there were no accidents, there would most likely be no problem. After all, his strength was there, and he had yet to make a move. The main reason was that the 2 formations in his hands complemented each other perfectly. This was also because Li Zongjio mainly relied on the strength of the master of the mountain residents. The strength and benefits of a formation master were shown very quickly. Li Zongjio did not expect a formation master to have such a great effect. The owner of this small mountain residence was also a powerful array master. This person's cultivation was even stronger than Li Zongjio's, so it shouldn't be a problem for him to survive. Now in the Red Soul City. In many places, spirit formations also appeared to fight against the other party. Li Zongjio's side was relaxed because there were people holding back the main attacks of these demons. And these people were the City Lord and the others. The City Lord of the Red Soul City was also an expert of the Heaven Realm. He led hundreds of experts of the Heaven Realm in the square of the city gate, using the statues as a formation. They were fighting head-on with the enemy. Beside the City Lord of the Red Soul City, there were nearly 100 experts of the Heaven Realm. They were all ranked high in the city. Now that this group of people was here, the attacks they suffered were naturally the fiercest. At the same time, there were also 10 array experts maintaining the formation. With the power of the formation in front of them, they were constantly replenishing the energy of the City Lord and the others. Li Zongjio was very familiar with one of them. This person was Ling Yu. Ling Yu was also an extremely top formation master in the city. It was no surprise that she appeared here. However, the enemy's attack this time seemed to be very fierce. Even the great array was shaking non-stop. The attack this time is too strong. A handsome man beside Ling Yu said, his eyebrows were also extremely heavy. When they saw such a situation, they all knew that things were not good. The demon army was more than 10 million. The City Lord of the Red Soul City, 1 man and 1 sword, slaughtered the demons in all directions, cutting the bodies of those demons into pieces. Even the soul beans that fell on the ground were not collected by anyone. Even the City Lord of the Red Soul City did not care about this little thing at all. The most important thing was to kill the enemy. Suddenly, 9 extremely terrifying auras descended from the sky. Even some of the surrounding fiendish demons were instantly suppressed by the 9 auras. Seeing this scene, the city lord of the Red Soul City's eyes flashed with a trace of cold light. These 9 auras were all existences of the 9th level of the heaven realm. The strength of each of them was comparable to his. If not for the luck of this city, the city lord of the Red Soul City would not be able to contend with these demons. Damn it! When Ling Yu saw this scene, she immediately cursed in her heart. Because the 9 demons at the peak of the heaven realm suddenly appeared on the other side. They directly brought an extremely strong threat to the city lord of the Red Soul City. Activate the strengthening formation. Ling Yu seemed to be the backbone of the many formation masters. After Ling Yu gave the order, the 10 array masters also quickly formed hand seals and flew about. Rays of golden light fell on the city lord of the Red Soul City. Suddenly, the city lord of the Red Soul City's body shone with golden light. At this moment, his combat strength was also greatly enhanced at this moment, and he quickly rushed forward. Boom! With a golden sword in his hand, he contended with the 9 demons at the peak of the heaven realm. Li Zongjio also felt this terrifying fluctuation. He immediately glanced over and saw that the shockwaves from the battle alone were enough to kill many of the beasts and demons in the army of beasts and demons. They are really strong. Li Zongjio could also clearly feel the power of the fluctuation. It spread out for hundreds of miles, and one could clearly feel the existence of this power. Furthermore, this golden light formation also gave the latter a very strong boost in strength. But they still can't resist. Li Zongjio looked into the distance. The 10th demon at the peak of the heaven realm had also been born. However, it fell in another part of the city, and at this moment, it was also rushing toward the city gate. It was bound to join the battle and kill the city lord of the Red Soul City. Li Zongjio saw it, and naturally, the others also saw it. Ling Yu and the others' faces changed. Who would be able to stop this powerful fiendish demon? At this moment, Hong Long suddenly said in surprise. Gang leader, the city lord has just issued a city defense mission. As long as you can stop this demon for 15 minutes, you will be rewarded with the position of city commander. Chapter 1659. The position of commander. To all the people who were struggling in the Scarlet Spirit City, this was a very exciting stimulant. Once one became a commander, at least in the city, he would have a lot of privileges. It was also a symbol of identity. Although he could not kill people in the city openly, he could exercise the law enforcement authority. Once he had the law enforcement authority, as long as he could convict you, he could directly lead the troops to arrest you. At the same time, the number of commander positions was very limited. The future city lord position was also born from these commanders. Once he became a commander, he would have the opportunity and qualifications to compete for such a position in the future. He could also receive a salary every month. After all, he was someone who had contributed to the city, so he must not be mistreated. Hong Long told Li Zongjio about the benefits of becoming a commander. Li Zongjio was obviously very interested in the position of the city lord. He must get this reward. It was such a good opportunity. Li Zongjio would not let it go easily. However, it wasn't a simple task to complete this task. The opponent was a real existence of the 9th level of the celestial realm. Li Zongjio had not even reached the real celestial realm. However, in the mission of the city lord, it only said that he had to delay the opponent's footsteps for 15 minutes. It was naturally very difficult to kill it. For the current Li Zongjio, it was also impossible. But to delay it for 15 minutes, it was not impossible to succeed. At this moment, there were already other experts who rushed up dauntlessly. Among them, there was no lack of celestial realm experts. However, the strength of these people was not worth mentioning in front of this giant snake demon at the peak of the celestial realm. They could not withstand a single blow. They did not stop the giant snake demon at all. From this, one could see the attack of this giant snake demon. Li Zongjio was also observing the footsteps of the serpent demon. The content of the mission was to stall the serpent demon and prevent it from crossing the city center. Once it did, it would be equivalent to failing the mission. Many people were also waiting for an opportunity to make a move. Now, They did not make a move directly. At least, they wanted to see the situation clearly first. If they rushed out rashly, they would be like these people, rushing forward to die. Li Zongjio was not in a hurry. Even though he wanted the position of commander as well, at the very least, he knew his limits. He wouldn't rush to the position without any hesitation. Most of the people who had to rush up just now did not want to go up directly, but were pushed up by others, or simply could not avoid it. Therefore, when they rushed up, they were easily torn apart by this serpent demon. Moreover, the serpent demon was surrounded by a poisonous gas. It was because of this poisonous gas that many people lost their fighting strength when they got close to it. The enemy was approaching the center of the city. At this moment, there was finally an expert who was worthy of being called out. 3 experts at the 6th level of the celestial realm joined forces to make a move. A powerful fiery attack landed on the serpent demon's head. However, the serpent demon's defense was too strong, and the 3 of them joined forces to defend against it. The 3 of them did not work at all. On the contrary, the giant snake demon was completely enraged. In an instant, its body rolled and formed a whirlwind, directly sucking the 3 people into its poisonous gas range. The 3 of them had wanted to keep a distance from Lin Fan. However, they had not expected that they would lose all resistance the moment Lin Fan unleashed this move. They were sucked into the poison circle and were instantly poisoned. Even the Yuan Qi defensive shield on their bodies and any inner armor were useless against the poison. The poisonous gas attacked their hearts. They were also swallowed by the giant snake demon again. The crunching sound of bones being crushed was also heard clearly by everyone. It had bitten people into pieces before they were even dead. It must be a very strange thing to have such a feeling. No one dared to step forward rashly. Even 3 experts at the 6th level of the celestial realm could not resist. If they were to step in, they would only end up losing their lives. Although the position of the commander was very tempting, they gave up on it after thinking about it. In the end, they gave up. Thousand Moon Pavilion of the Thousand Moon Sect. Naturally, the Thousand Moon Sect master also received the news. At the same time, she also wanted to step forward and give it a try. However, when she saw that the 3 experts at the 6th level of the celestial realm were easily killed, she temporarily gave up on the idea. If she rushed forward, only death would await her. Moreover, it would only bring a heavy blow to the Thousand Moon Sect. It's impossible to stop it. We're doomed. Despair flashed across the Thousand Moon Sect master's eyes. If Crimson Soul City was lost, the foundation that she had built in Crimson Soul City would be destroyed in an instant. If the city was lost, would her previous efforts still exist? She was not an expert like the city lord. Although the city was destroyed, her strength was still there. She could find a place to rebuild at any time. Even if she went to other cities, such an expert would still be a distinguished guest. There would not be any change. Only the people below. It was unknown how many of them would survive. Ling Yu and the rest maintained the array. The city lord led the 10 commanders in the city to fight against the 9 top-notch demons. However, it was difficult to determine the victor in a short period of time. If the 10th demon joined the battle, it would be very dangerous. Damn it! Ling Yu cursed under her breath. She saw that the giant snake demon was about to cross the center of the city and approach them. At this moment, a figure descended from the sky. A terrifying chaotic energy hit the serpent demon's tail in an instant. Boom. The tail was instantly smashed off by Li Zongjio. Immediately, a poisonous gas was released from the tail. Li Zongjio had been tempered by the power of 5 poisons from Spiritual Master 5 poisons, so he had a certain level of immunity to the poison. In addition to the increase in his strength and the existence of the chaotic body, it helped Li Zongjio resist the poisonous gas. That was why he was not poisoned to death. After smashing off the tail of the giant snake demon, Li Zongjio stepped on Ao Tian's back and quickly soared into the sky. Ao Tian's strength was also in the celestial realm. Most importantly, Ao Tian knew how to fly. It was easier for him to fly than Li Zongjio. Li Zongjio urged Ao Tian to circle around the body of the serpent demon. After deliberately angering the serpent demon, Li Zongjio charged in the direction that the serpent demon had come from. Since he wanted to delay for 15 minutes, he had to anger the giant snake demon and lure it away. Just the time it took to go back and forth was not difficult to hold on for 15 minutes. Chapter 1660. War was all about strategy. Just now, that group of people kept rushing up. Of course, the other party could easily take care of them. Would they even wait for them to eat? When Li Zongjio's figure appeared, Ling Yu, who was in the distance, was shocked when she saw him. It's him! Ling Yu's eyes flashed with surprise. She did not expect Li Zongjio to appear at this critical moment. Most importantly, this person was quite aloof. He even changed her array formation without her permission. When she wanted to lower herself to communicate with him, this guy actually? He did not want to talk to her. This caused Ling Yu to feel extremely furious. Do you know him? The handsome man beside her frowned and asked when he heard the fluctuation in Ling Yu's tone. He's a tenant of mine, Ling Yu said faintly. She realized that she seemed to be a little agitated just now. No one should be so surprised. It was inevitable that people would be suspicious. Although Ling Yu said so, the handsome man obviously did not dare to believe that the two of them were so simple. There must be something fishy going on. After all, he knew Ling Yu's character very well. She would never be moved by anything. Just now, there was a rare fluctuation in her expression. The latter was obviously a little surprised. Therefore, the handsome man also remembered Li Zongjio's appearance in his heart. At the same time, he cursed in his heart. He hoped that Li Zongjio would be killed by this big snake demon. The Thousand Moon Sect Master, who was in the Thousand Moon Tower, also saw Li Zongjio. It's him. He finally made a move. The Thousand Moon Sect Master was not clear about Li Zongjio's strength. However, when Li Zongjio made a move last time, his clean and neat swordsmanship had left a deep impression on the Thousand Moon Sect Master. At the same time, Li Zongjio killed Commander Mi Shi directly some time ago. He knew that Li Zongjio's strength was definitely not simple. When this task appeared, the Thousand Moon Sect Master was actually looking forward to Li Zongjio making a move. Now he finally made a move. At the very least, there would be a good battle to watch. The Thousand Moon Pavilion itself was also supported by the array formation. In addition, most of the forces were attracted by the city lord and the city guards. Therefore, they were not in too much of a risk. Ao Tian circled around and brought Li Zongjio with him as he flew into the distance. However, the serpent demon did not hesitate at all. In an instant, its broken tail grew out again. At the same time, it swung its tail violently, sending out a gust of energy that sent Li Zongjio and Li Zongjio flying. Ao Tian's huge body was sent flying. Li Zongjio leaped off proud heaven's back and shot off into the distance. Boom! His figure instantly flew into the distance. Ao Tian had also completed his mission. After attracting a wave of attacks, he gave up. The serpent demon did not specifically target Ao Tian. Instead, he chased after Li Zongjio. Li Zongjio had just broken his tail and attracted a lot of hatred. No matter what, he could not let Li Zongjio escape. Go! Li Zongjio summoned the tiger-headed warlord. This fallen race warrior did not hesitate to descend from the sky. With 2 hammers in his hands, he smashed them down on the serpent demon's head. The serpent demon was very straightforward. It swallowed the tiger-headed warlord in one bite. The tiger tally in Li Zongjio's hands also lost its effect at this moment. It can't even block a single move. Li Zongjio was still expecting the tiger-headed warlord to be able to withstand a few moves. In the end, it was swallowed in an instant. Only when facing a serpent demon could one feel the terrifying power of the latter. It was not something that could be casually withstood. Not to mention 15 minutes. Even if it was 15 seconds, no one could withstand it. Array formation rise. When Li Zongjio circled around the serpent demon, he secretly set up some supreme-grade primordial stones that contain the power of the array formation. As Li Zongjio's strength was activated, suddenly, these tens of thousands of supreme-grade primordial stones contained the power of lightning. They intertwined with each other and floated around the serpent demon. Immediately, Li Zongjiao activated the power of the array formation. Suddenly, a flash of lightning engulfed the serpent demon's body. Floating Thunder Array. One of the high-level arrays that Li Zongjiao mastered. It was this terrifying Floating Thunder Array. It successfully delayed the serpent demon in front of him. However, the serpent demon itself was not harmed at all. It was actually unscathed. Li Zongjiao was shocked. Damn it, this guy's skin is so thick? Li Zongjiao cursed. In the next second, the serpent demon directly smashed the Floating Thunder Array. At the same time, it quickly rushed out and pounced on Li Zongjiao. At this moment, Li Zongjiao also made the best use of his time and flew further away. Otherwise, the time that they had fought so hard for would be wasted. Speed Up Array. Li Zongjiao cast the Speed Up Array on himself. His body instantly disappeared from the sky above the city with a boom. At the same time, his body split into several afterimages, causing the serpent demon to completely lose its target. It could not figure out which one was Li Zongjiao's real body. It could only use its terrifying power to crush Li Zongjiao's doppelganger in an instant. The latter exploded with a boom, and a huge wave of poisonous gas burst out from its body. This huge wave of poisonous gas destroyed half of the city in an instant at an incomparably fast speed. Most of the people who were in this poisonous gas were on the verge of death. They were directly engulfed by this terrifying poisonous gas. Their breaths disappeared. Two of Li Zongjiao's doppelganger were also destroyed by the wave of poisonous gas. The remaining real body also quickly flew out of the city. Since it had already discovered Li Zongjiao's figure, the serpent demon immediately chased after him. Its speed was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, it was already above Li Zongjiao. Even if Li Zongjiao cast the Speed Up Array and various arrays to delay it, it was useless. It still caught up with him. But at least, Li Zongjiao had become the one who had delayed the serpent demon the longest. He's really something. When Ling Yu saw that Li Zongjiao had actually succeeded in luring the giant snake demon away, a trace of surprise flashed across her eyes. Clearly, she was very surprised. The fact that Li Zongjiao could appear was already very courageous. If he could really do it, it would be even more impressive. Even more terrifying. With such strength, she definitely had to nurture him well in the future. But she just hoped that Li Zongjiao could also protect himself, or at least escape. The situation was not so optimistic. The situation was naturally not optimistic. Li Zongjiao even regretted that he had stepped forward. His opponent's terrifying strength, when they fought, there was no way to resist at all. His opponent's defense was too strong, and his various moves could not break through. Besides the sneak attack at the beginning, he had used the chaotic energy to gain an advantage. If he were to attack now, he would definitely be sent flying as soon as he got close to the serpent. Now, to deal with the serpent, there was only one move left. Evil Soul Eye. Li Zongjiao activated his natal skill. This move? Li Zongjiao had only used it less than 5 times. In thousands of battles, Li Zongjiao had only used this move a few times, and it had never failed. Chapter 1661. When the Evil Soul Eye appeared. Obviously, Li Zongjiao also saw the big snake demon's body tremble slightly. However, the big snake demon was aggressive and its aura did not weaken at all. Li Zongjiao was also very surprised. He was stunned for a moment. Could it be that his Evil Soul Eye had lost its effect? If the Evil Soul Eye had lost its effect, Li Zongjiao would not have any other ideas. He would just run away quickly. However, Li Zongjiao did not have time to run away. The big snake demon's body made a loud boom. It fell to the ground. Li Zongjiao was also shocked and broke out in cold sweat. He thought that this guy was immune to his Evil Soul Eye. Now, it seemed that this guy would also be affected. Since it was affected, it was easy to deal with. Li Zongjiao also heaved a sigh of relief. He saw the big snake demon's body fall to the ground. His figure also slowly descended and began to set up a formation around it. Li Zongjiao did not know how long his formation could last. If it could not hold on for a long time, The consequences would be unimaginable. Therefore, Li Zongjio also needed to hurry up. Since the big snake demon was affected by the evil soul eye, it was impossible for Li Zongjio to let the big snake demon be affected by the evil soul eye again. Firstly, the big snake demon would enter a defensive state. Secondly, it would also have some resistance. The success rate was very low. The rest of the people in the city saw this scene. When Chen Yu saw the big snake demon fall, he was completely stunned. Oh my God, he killed that demon? Even the Chen Yu sect leader himself could not believe it. Looking at the scene in front of him, the big snake demon's body fell to the ground with a loud boom. He did not know what method Li Zongjio used to defeat the big snake demon. It was really quite terrifying. Such strength was beyond everyone's expectations. Even when Ling Yu and the others saw this scene, they were very surprised. They did not expect it at all. Li Zongjio actually had the ability to defeat a demon at the peak of the celestial realm. However, they soon found that he did not defeat the demon. Instead, he used some method to make the demon faint temporarily. They also breathed a sigh of relief. At least, Li Zongjio was not such a terrifying existence. If he could kill a demon at the peak of the celestial realm, then Li Zongjio's strength would be very terrifying. At least, the Red Soul City Master would choose to recruit him. The position of commander, naturally, the demon. But it is enough to delay it. A female commander beside the Red Soul City Master, who was dressed in cold silver armor, turned to look in the direction of Li Zongjio. When she found that Li Zongjio had defeated the big snake demon, she was very surprised. However, she was also a little unhappy with Li Zongjio. There was a trace of cold light in her eyes. This was a look that was directed specifically at Li Zongjio. She was Commander Hanyue. Li Zongjio had seized Hanyue Villa and destroyed the Sky Fiend Alliance that she had painstakingly built. She was the master behind the Sky Fiend Alliance. Commander Hanyue. Originally, Commander Hanyue was determined to kill Li Zongjio. However, when she saw that Li Zongjio had some ability, she was relieved. He also felt a little relieved for Li Zongjio. As long as Li Zongjio was willing to submit, there would be no problem and he could spare his life. This was also because the latter had some ability and was willing to step forward bravely at this time, so she gave the latter a chance. Even the Thousand Moon Sect Master could find out Li Zongjio's identity, let alone Commander Hanyue. Commander Hanyue only needed to say a word and she would be able to find out who was behind this. However, before she could deal with Li Zongjio, she encountered such a situation. If Li Zongjio was willing to help and protect Red Soul City, Commander Hanyue could consider giving Li Zongjio a lighter punishment. Otherwise, she would definitely teach Li Zongjio a lesson. In this Red Soul City, there was actually someone who dared to play such a conspiracy against her. Li Zongjio did not know that Commander Hanyue had decided to let him go for the time being. He did not care about these things now. Instead, he was using all his strength to set up the array. The latter would definitely not last for such a long period of time. Once the effects of the evil soul eye wore off, the giant snake demonic demon would awaken. One could imagine that once the latter awakened, its tyrannical aura would be even more intense. 3 minutes passed in the blink of an eye. Finally, the giant snake demon's aura was completely released at this moment. Boom! The giant snake demon in front of him instantly released its aura. It had finally woken up. Without the slightest hesitation. Under such circumstances, it opened its eyes. At the same time, a terrifying poisonous gas quickly condensed around its body. Boom! The color of the sky and earth changed. Everything turned into an extremely dense pitch-black color. It directly covered Li Zongjio. When Hong Long and the others in the distance saw this, they were also stunned. Who would be able to survive the descent of this monstrous poison gas? In the eyes of others, Li Zongjio himself was definitely going to die. He would be directly poisoned to death by this poisonous gas. Even Ling Yu, who was in the array. When she saw this scene, she was also stunned. Her eyes were filled with disbelief. Such a terrifying power was definitely not something that Li Zongjio could withstand. Could it be that Li Zongjio was so easily poisoned to death? She could not believe it. The handsome man beside Ling Yu was already clapping his hands and cheering in his heart. At the same time, he felt very happy for Li Zongjiu's overestimation of his own abilities. With such strength, he still wanted to seek the position of commander. This was the result of overestimating one's own abilities. These demons would not give you a second chance. If you were killed, you would be killed. You would not have any chance to start over. Is he dead? The Thousand Moon Sect Master also did not dare to believe it. At least in her heart, she did not dare to believe it. In her opinion, Li Zongjiu would not die so easily. There must be some other reason. Perhaps there would be a miracle. In the next moment, a ray of light appeared directly around the poisonous gas array. Then, an extremely terrifying suction force erupted. The giant snake demon also looked down at its body in shock. There was a trace of astonishment in its eyes. It was as if he was being dragged in by this force. Boom! Finally, the giant serpent demon and the surrounding poisonous gas disappeared in an instant. Li Zongjiu also disappeared together with it. Boom! The surrounding spatial fluctuations made the experts in the city understand one after another. Li Zongjiu actually set up a teleportation array. A teleportation array? At this moment, even the Red Soul City Master could not help but look in the direction of Li Zongjiu. But now, both Li Zongjiu and the Serpent Commander had disappeared without a trace. Obviously, Li Zongjiu sacrificed himself to teleport the giant snake demon out. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.